Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everyone to the final round of the Tata Steel Chess 2022. We are starting today a couple of hours earlier than usual, and that's the reason why, the tournament itself started 2 hours earlier than the normal time, and that is why we are here 2 hours before. I hope that you will have a good time watching the games and also learn a lot in the process. I know that the winners in both the sections have already been determined. Magnus Carlsen has won it in the Masters. Arjun Erigaisi has won it in the Challengers, but still there is always a lot to play for because there are rating points, some good games. You can always create masterpieces, and there's always something to learn from us from these great players. So these are the standings after the 12th round. Magnus had a full point lead over the field. He also has a full point today because he's playing against Daniel Dubov, who will not be playing because of having tested COVID positive. So Magnus moves on to 9.5. Shakriyar on 7.5 along with Richard Rapport. Anish Giri on 7, Andrey Esipenko on 6.5, Karjakin, Vidit, Van Foreest and Fabiano Caruana on 50% score. So this was how the standings of the Masters, and these are the standings of the Challengers. Arjun Erigaisi has already won the tournament, and Nguyen Thaidaiwan, Bier Jonas, Jumabayev, Lucas Van Foreest, and so on. Surya Ganguly is currently on the 9th position. Okay, so firstly, I just wanted to let's start off with the game of Arjun, because Arjun would like to win a game today, and he would move on to 10.5 points out of 13, which is a massive score, and this was his aim, as Srinath said yesterday. So let's have a look at that game, and let's start from the beginning. Arjun is playing black against the French player Andrea Marc Maurizzi, and game starts off with 1d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight to c3, bishop b4. This is known as the Nimzo Indian defense, and now knight f3 was played in this position. Arjun castles and bishop g5. There was one grandmaster, one top player who loved playing bishop g5. In fact, even before knight f3, he used to play bishop g5. He was a world champion. Can you tell me who he was? It's a very tough question. It's known as the Leningrad system. What? Oh, Krishna Agarwal. So good, so quick. Very nice, Krishna. Well done. It is by Boris Spassky, and he used to play this a lot. Savita Chess, you are also right. Fantastic. So this is known as the Leningrad system, but knight f3 castles bishop g5, and now Arjun goes c5. So two possibilities now. One is that you want to take on d4. The other one is that you open up your queen to put pressure here. So white defends with rook c1. Queen a5 would be an ideal way to break the pin and also threaten knight e4. h6, bishop h4. He took on d4, pawn takes, and now played the pawn in the center. So white took on d5, Arjun took on c3, rook takes c3, and now a very interesting move, g5 played by Arjun, bishop g3, and queen takes d5. So if you look at this position, you will notice that white has the bishop pair. Black has also weakened his king. He's given up one of his bishop. He's also weakened his king. But still, black is doing not so bad in this position. Can you tell me what is the reason for that? What is the imbalance that is in black's favor that helps him uh, do well? Oh, by the way, Asim Khan says Spassky. Today is his 85th birthday as well. Wow, that is so cool. It's great to know that today is Spassky's 85th birthday. By the way, guys, today I also kind of upgraded to Windows 11. It was pending since a long time. I don't know how it will work, but I have done that change. Lead in development, Gupta Bihari. Yashpal Singh, development, very good. King in the middle, Rahul Agarwal. Savita Chess, development, JSK streamer. Exactly. Developmentally, black is doing well. He has castled. White king is still in the center, and that's the reason why it is better. I mean, it's not a better position, but at least he can maintain the balance here. We'll also have a look at our ChessBase board to see how many times this position has been reached before. Ashik Quizman says in Windows 11 will make your life hell, Babre. That is a little bit dangerous to hear that it will make my life hell, but at least first impression, not bad, not bad. F3 was played here, and now black went for the move E5, pushing the knight away from the center. He went knight to B3, and Arjun took. King takes. Notice Arjun's time, 1 hour 44 minutes. By the way, many people have mentioned that they have got both the predictions right of Carlsen and Arjun winning, and we had a ChessBase India chess set to be given. But I think there were many people who have answered it right, so we will be doing a lucky draw, and any one of them would win it. If you don't win it, then please don't feel bad. We will have more such contests in the future as well. By the way, here just so that we can see how many times this has been played before, let me just pull up the ChessBase board. Yeah, there we have it. And funnily, this has not been played before, and yet Arjun, this has been played before, and knight e4 was played here. But this is all quite new. This so CD5, the main move here has been G5 in this position, has been played by Mamedyarov, Nakamura, Carlsen, Wesley So. But bishop C3 is Arjun's improvement. Arjun and Srinath, both of them seem to have worked on it. And after queen d5, f3, very logical move with the idea of e4 is met with e5, knight b3, and queen takes d1. So this is all over the board now. It is not preparation. e4 also blitzed out. Knight d2, rook e8 was played here, and here he took on e4, which was not perhaps the best move. Any idea of what you should be playing here with white? White to play, what would you play here in this position? Yes, Savita Chess, I was also very much unsure whether I should upgrade or not when I was, in Poland, and at World Rapid and Blitz it had already come. I was in Dubai at that point. But then when I'm now at home and there are no major events coming up, of course there is Grand Prix, but I thought, well, let's try it out. I thought Vidit's performance has been much better than what his score reflects in this tournament. Do you agree, and do you think this will give him more invitations to super tournaments going forward? Asks Avik Bose. Interesting question. But first, let me answer what here the position is e3. E3 looks like a dangerous move to play. I think if you play e3, you can come under trouble. Just get the board here. F4 is the other move. D3, bishop F2, F5, bishop E5, and H4. Yes, H4 is the move that I was looking for, and that has been given by Shield Gaming. Well done, Shield Gaming. So here, a very good move for white could have been to play H4. And it underlies the fact that this knight is slightly weak here, and the bishop can later on unsettle it. Also HG, the rook will open up on the H file. So it would have been a good decision there, but Marc took here, Arjun took back, pawn takes, and now of course you don't want to take on e4 because c8 is hanging. Knight c6 was played in this position, e3, and now rook takes on e4. I think it could also have been possible to start with knight d7, because here after e3 you can play knight f6 and you want to take now with the knight, and if e5 then you have knight e4 attacking the rook and also the bishop later on picking this up. So this could have been a better way to play, but he went knight c6 and now e3. So coming to, by the way, rook e4 was played here. Coming to the question, I also feel that Vidit played well in this tournament. In fact, he won 3 games against Shankland, Grandelius, and Dubov, and also held Caruana, Magnus to a draw. But talking about invitations, I don't think based on this performance you can get invitations. You first of all maybe need to finish in top 3, but more importantly, I think for him the world FIDE Grand Prix is more important now, and he must do well there because that is his chance to qualify for the candidates. And of course it's a tall order there, but if he's motivated there and does well, I guess that can really, supercharge his career. That would be a big thing. First Shadow says, Sagarbai, did you speak with Vidit after yesterday's game? He looked quite upset. Yes, I saw the video and it was quite upsetting, but I think generally chess players recover on their own, and it takes some time. It is definitely very personal and very intense, but they are used to it and they get over it. It happens to the best. Bishop d3, rook went back, bishop b5, even check, king c1, knight b4, and now threatening a nasty fork on a2, bishop c4, bishop f5, rook f1, and bishop came back to e6. He could have played bishop g6 as well, but then maybe he was a little bit tensed about rook f6 threatening to take here. So like this, rook f6, and if you play king g7, then maybe bishop e5 is nasty here. So that's the reason why he played bishop e6, and right now the position is roundabout even. But I like the fact how Arjun is playing this game. He's fighting for the full point, even though he's won the tournament. As he said, he has nothing to lose. But generally, you don't want to lose the last round after such an event. So let's hope that he's able to keep up his tempo here. PRT says Magnus, Anish, and Sagar commentating at the same. Oh, really? Where are Magnus and Anish commentating? I guess Magnus would be on Chess24, but Anish, where is he commentating? Uh, Surya Ganguly drew his game against Nguyen Thaidai 1, which is fine result with the black pieces. It was the Ragosin. Yeah, this is a well-known line. I think Ding Liren versus Vidit, and it's an opposite colored bishop, even though you're pawn down, are able to hold. Aha, Anish on Chess.com. Okay, cool. Maybe we can also ask Anish to join. Yeah, like I'll write to him. This tournament is over. But that is the official commentary, so he might be there as a part of his work. Yeah, Anish drew. Let's have a look at the game of Vidit first, and then we will go to Praggnanandhaa's game. So let's start from the beginning. Vidit playing with the black pieces, e4, e5. He's playing against Sergey Karjakin, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3, knight f6, d4, pawn takes, knight takes. And what is the main move here in this 4 knights position? This is known as kind of the Scotch game, but not the Scotch opening mainly, but 4 knights. What do you play? Black to move. A crypto knight, thank you so much. Boss Styles asks, which player do you think is tougher opponent for VD in classical, Duda or Carlsen? Well, I think Carlsen, because he's the world champion, but Vidit has played more against Duda. So no, here the main move, not bishop c5, guys. Yes, account number 2, you are right. Roshan Rajkumar, well done. The move here is bishop b4. That is the best. Bishop b4, and then after take, pawn takes, bishop d3, d5, bd2. Ooh, he plays this new line. This is something which Harika plays a lot, and we saw that it's a pawn sacrifice line sometimes, and we'll see how much of it is preparation from the time we get to know, and then we'll also check on the mega database and ChessBase board. So castles, bishop c3, de, bishop f6, queen f6, bishop takes, queen takes b2, bishop takes c6, rook b8, rook b1, queen b1, queen b1, rook b1. You can see that Sergey has 1 hour 42 minutes, Vidit has 1 hour 28 minutes, bishop f3, king f8, rook b8. He goes here. Maybe king e7 was also possible, yeah, but then rook e8 has a direct threat of a mate in 1. So h4. If he plays king f1, that is a massive blunder. I want all of you to tell me why this is a mistake. Black to play. Yes, Anish has already drawn his game against Rapport, and Magnus didn't have to play today because he was playing against Dubov. Nice, guys. All of you very, very alert and have given the right move. Bishop a6, fantastic job. JSK chess streamer, Vivan Malpani, Akshay Mohan, Deepesh Sokhal, account number 2, Love Chess, Aman Singh, Belligerent, Nilay Marathe, and Ayush Kumar Jha. So bishop a6 would land in a checkmate here, and then you I mean, not checkmate, it actually you lose the rook there. So h4, bishop a6, rook b3, rook e5, rook c3, he went back, now rook a3, and here Vidit played rook e6. Maybe white has a small initiative because his rook is more active than the black rook. Bishop d5, rook b6, bishop b3, c5, rook a4 stopping, c4, g6, f3, rook d6, and c4 has been played here. So interesting position actually, where white has voluntarily closed his bishop, but also the black bishop is now kind of limited. You can't move the rook because your bishop hangs. You can't move your bishop because the pawn on a7 hangs. So in a way, it seems like Vidit is under some pressure. Also, the threat is now rook a5 to attack here. And if you go rook c6, then there is bishop a4. So let's imagine king e7, rook a5, rook c6, bishop a4, rook b6, rook takes c5, bishop b4, and now maybe rook a5, bishop c4, rook takes a7, and Vidit might have to fight for a draw here, because yes, a2 is weak and that's fine, but still white keeps this pawn, and this might be not so easy to hold. And this is the position as of now. Let's have a look at how many moves. Was it all theory? And how many games have been played in this position? So if we look at our ChessBase board, ChessBase 16, bishop c3, bishop c3, d4, bishop f6, queen f6. This has been played in 24 games. In fact, here knight e4 has been played in 96 games. And the idea is to take and play maybe queen e2. And this has been played in a few games before. But Vidit took with the pawn, takes, queen takes, bishop takes, queen b2 also seen before, bishop c6, rook b8, take is all well known, rook d8 is well known, bishop f3. Andrekin and Matlakov, all games have ended in draw. Wesley So and Magnus Carlsen have also played this in Tata Steel, Vaikanze last year. Okay. King f8, rook b8, rook e8, h4, bishop a6. Following Carlsen, Wesley So and Mastrovas. Rook e5 was Vidit's first new move of the game. The Carlsen game had continued bishop e2, takes here, and Magnus had managed to hold it to a draw without too many difficulties. Okay. So I have a feeling that Vidit should be able to hold this to a draw, but also at the same time, it's not going to be like a cakewalk, He has to play accurately. What do you think, guys? Anupriya Pandey says, I think Vidit needs to bring his king. Yeah, that's true. I think he will bring his king in. But yeah, rook a5 and bishop a4 does look dangerous here. Yeah, he should be able to hold, says Krishna Agarwal. Why not slide the king over? Yes, he should be able to, but the main thing is that rook a5 and bishop a4 is the idea. Okay, let's go to Praggnanandhaa's game. That is very exciting and interesting. Praggnanandhaa playing with the white pieces against Andrey Esipenko. And Pragg actually played a line which I have recommended. on this YouTube channel for black. Actually, Esipenko played it against the Zamish system, the A3 system in the Nimzo Indian. So let's have a look at this. It's a very, very nice and interesting, and I have a few comments to make in this opening as well. D4, knight f6, c4, e6. Knight c3, bishop b4. A3. And this is actually a very interesting move, A3, because you see, when you come bishop b4, white tries to be all subtle, queen c2, e3, knight f3, maybe bishop g5, bishop d2, but a3 is like questioning black about the Nimzo Indian itself is questioned. Takes, and now the move c5. And I think this is one of the solid systems to play against this a3 variation. You're putting pressure on these pawns. E3, bishop d3, castles, knight to e2, b6. And this is a very important moment now after e4. I want you to tell me what should black play in this position. Guys, this is a very well-known maneuver. It was also played by Capablanca, if I'm not mistaken, in this position. So let me know what is the move here. Very well-known move. Or maybe I'm not right, yeah, Capablanca. Perhaps in not this exact position. He had played it in some other position. So Savita Chess says knight a5. Shaibi says knight e7. Okay, interesting. Manbir Kaur, yes, very interesting. Now I'll tell you what exactly is the point here. Let me first see what are the moves. Very good. Knight e8 is the move that has been recommended the most. And Manbir Kaur, Love Chess, Saksham Call, Savita Chess, Don Jose, Vijay Satvika, NM, Yash Nayak, Gaurav Shastri, and Shaibi Binoj. So the thing is, can anyone tell me why knight e8? Because you know the weakness is on the c4 pawn. So you want to put knight a5 and bishop a6 and put pressure here. So why knight e8? What is the reason for it? Can anyone tell me what is the reason why white plays knight e8 in such positions? This is Karpov, by the way, Karpov has played it many times here. Savita says to play f5, maybe knight e8 to d6, account number 2. That's an interesting thing. Many of you want to say relocation, but there are actually 3 things. Love Chess says, I've seen your video on Nimzo Indian. Yeah, someone can put that link here. It's an opening with black. I think it's the first lesson itself. No, Isomaniac, not because knight e8 is the problem. E5 is the problem. But yes, Ujjwal Manocha, you are right, to meet f4 with f5. This is one reason. The other reason is to meet knight d6 in the position to get the knight there. And the last thing is that you don't want bishop g5, and that is one of the main reasons. Let's say you start with bishop a6, bishop g5 is a very nasty pin. So that's the reason why knight e8 kills many birds with one stone. Castles, now bishop a6 was played, Pragg went f4, and here very important, by the way, there was one game, very well-known game, I think Keres maybe was playing, Kotov Keres perhaps, where here after f4, knight a5 was played. And you know, there are sometimes small little changes in move order which changes it, but the concept is the same. If you don't stop this, I'm going to sacrifice my c4 pawn and anyway go f5. And this can become very dangerous. Like let's say you take on c4 and now I play f6. If you take on f6, I pin you here, and this is exactly the kind of position which you don't want. Your king is terribly weak, and this is very bad. So that's the reason why here an important move after f4 is black to move. Yes. Let me see how many of you were able to guess this correctly. F5. Brilliant, guys. You are amazing. You are understanding this opening very well. Manbir, Saksham, Divya, Dawn, Play, Dipesh, Love Chess, Savita, account number 2, Neeraj. So F5 is the correct move here. And you stop the pawn in its tracks. Now he took, pawn takes, and pawn takes, bishop e3, d6, needs to protect that pawn, knight g3, and here I had prepared the move g6 in my when I was teaching this opening. I think there is this line where you take gf, queen d5 check, rook f7, very important move. And then if you take this knight, then bishop b7, and black has excellent play here. He goes h5, rook g7, puts pressure here along with the bishop. So this was my recommendation. And if you just check, by the way, in the mega database, if we just have a look at it, you will see that this position has been reached already 30 times, and the famous games are Carlsen Hikaru. That was a nice game actually. It was played in online in the Champions Chess Tour, and Hikaru had won. There is also Mirzoev versus Kuzubov, but the move has always been g6. Knight e7 has been played only once, but I guess it is again it's an online game. But knight e7 makes sense actually, and Esipenko went for knight e7 instead of g6. Pragg went queen f3, knight to c7. Both players taking their time. Rook b1, queen d7, rook e1, g6 finally. So you know, one of the main things that black has done in this position and why black is doing well is because no, Rishabh, that was not correspondence game, it was played in an online game. One of the main reasons why black is doing quite okay is because these pawns here, they limit the bishops, and also the knight does not have good squares to go to. So bishop f2, knight c8. Now he wants to come to b6 to put more pressure here. Knight f1, knight b6. He goes knight e3. Both sides have maneuvered their knights to good squares. Rook e8, bishop h4, queen g7, and now rook to c1. Just defending the pawn here on c3, and now the rook has been played to e6. So it's a position where white has to come up with a plan, that is Praggnanandhaa has to come up with an idea, because if you look here, There is two attacks here. I am defending it twice. My bishop is well positioned. What is the plan that you can come up here with white? Try to think. Let's think here. How do you improve your position? You don't want to, I mean, knight d5, perhaps rook e1, rook e1, and then you take here, and then a lot of pieces get traded. Aren't dark squares weak in the long run, Akshay Mohan? You are right, Akshay, but somehow this bishop, because of the f4 pawn, cannot get on this diagonal. It would be very nice if it could get on this diagonal, but c3 pawn is there and these two pawns limited. So somehow black is playing against that bishop. Very good. Dikshit, Snake, Fast Curious, Akshay Mohan, Arun Maganlal, Severus Snape. Yes, the idea is at right time you want to play g4. That is the point here. But you can prepare it, right? Bishop g5 with the idea of queen h3 and bishop h6. True, that is possible, but I can just play my rook to e8 and then the bishop would be a bit misplaced there. Pragg goes a4. Very interesting decision by Praggnanandhaa here. He's played his pawn to a4. I was expecting that he would go h3 with the idea of maybe king to the side and then g4. That looked very interesting as well. But he played a4, and now my question to you is, what happens if you play knight takes a4? What should white play in this position according to you? Come on guys, think. Well, you might want to go rook a1. That's one possibility, but think carefully. How will black wriggle out of that? Because he is losing a piece there. Meanwhile, in the Vidit game, Karjakin has played his rook to a5, attacking the c5 pawn. Vidit has to decide what to do. So let's see what are the moves suggested here. Rook a1 is the main move. But the right move here is knight d5, which has been suggested by Chess Time, account number 2, Anant Ubhale, Patel Nisarg, Shush Kohli, Dikshit, Riya Kalina, Sarthak, Harsha, and Smith Bhagat. So rook a1, what is the issue here? Firstly, this rook bishop is not hanging, so I can just go back to b6. But I can also take on c3. And I ask you, like, is there enough compensation? You can't take here because knight a6 defends it. Maybe you missed that. The right move here is knight d5. And why is this move good? Because let's say you take on e1, I take back, and now you take on d5. Then I am not going to take with the pawn here, which I was forced to when your knight was back here controlling this. I'll take with the queen, give you a check. Now you have couple of ways to deal with it. Rook f7 loses to check here on e8. Queen f7 is another possibility, but it loses very nicely to a move. Can you find it? White to play. Not easy, but let's see if you can do it. Come on. It's tactics time. Oh, Vidit goes king d8 in the game, but now rook takes c5. He's a pawn down. Under pressure, yeah. This is not simple. Although he should be within the drawing margins, but it's not a comfortable position to play. Rook e7, then just queen takes d5. You lose a piece, yeah. Let's see how many of you were able to get this one right. Rook e7 is a horrible move, guys. Come on. Rook e7 is just so bad that I should cut your marks here. If there were, you should get minus points for that. No, the move here, which is a good move, is not rook e7, but queen to c6. And this answer was given by Soham, Severus, Vaibhav, Unknown, Arun, Srinivas, Neil, Prashil, Dikshit, and Sarthak. Well done, all of you. The main point is that the bishop is hanging, and if you go knight b6, here's a cool move. Come on, again. I want at least 50 people to tell this move now. What do you play in this position? White to move. Chalo. Come on. You can find it. It's not difficult. It's a very pretty move. Fantastic. So many of you seem to have found it, but I don't think 50 of you. Let's see. We have 41 already. Dipesh Sokhal, account number 2, Mohit Chess, Mr. Katta, Pratik Bhatt, Manoj SS, Severus Snape, Aradhya, Aman Sethi, and Akshay Mohan. Well done, guys. Rook to e7, and the queen is trapped. What a beautiful position, yeah? You trap the queen, and that is the correct move. Well done. So, rook e7 is winning. So, that's the reason why you can't take on after queen d5, you are lost. Even if you go like king here, then I can take on d6, attacking the bishop. If you try to save it, rook e7 again looks very strong. Or you can come back to f2 with the idea of taking on c5. So that does not look good. By the way, some development in the game already. He has taken on a4. Esipenko asked Pragg, are you trying to bluff me? And Pragg says knight d5. Pragg has put his knight in the center. The game looks really exciting now. Praggnanandhaa is on 4.5 points out of 12. He has beaten Nils Grandelius and Vidit Gujrathi in this position in this tournament, and maybe he can finish it on a high by beating Esipenko, but it is still far away from it. It's not like he's winning, but already he's putting pressure. Now imagine if you take here. Now we saw that taking on d5 is bad. But what else? If you take on c3, that is possible, but then my rook is entering. So maybe black's idea here is bishop to b7 in this position. And what should white do here is the question. What would you play here with the white pieces? He might try to... Now his idea is that he wants to take on d5 and get a pawn here. Oh, Vidit made a blunder? Okay, let's go to that game as well. But first here. Oh, Nadal won. Very nice. I think he was playing against Medvedev in the finals of Australian Open. That's good. Krishna Agarwal says bishop f6 working here. Interesting move, Krishna Agarwal. Very interesting, because bishop f6, if rook f6, knight f6 check, and I take your bishop. What about knight e7 check, queen e7? That is also possible. Rook e7, a lot of you want to play. Let me see what is the main move. Knight e7. Okay, knight e7, rook e7, knight f6 and bishop. All very interesting moves. Let's see first knight e7 check. Now, if I move the king away, by the way, it's over because I just take on b7. So you take, queen takes, And now if I play rook e7, you play bishop f3. If I play queen takes b7, you take queen h4, attacking my rook. That's horrible. So I take with the bishop. You have to take f3. I take on f8. You take king takes. I take on f3. You take on c3. Maybe good position for white. He's 2 pawns down. He's exchange up. But this seems like good chances for Pragg after, let's say, something like rook a1, because this knight is also sort of trapped in there. Like if you play a6, then I can go rook a3 and the knight is trapped. So this is one variation which is interesting, which is knight e7. The other one which was recommended was bishop f6 by you. Bishop f6, I mean, queen is attacked. If you move the queen away, let's say queen f7, then suddenly rook e7 becomes very powerful. So rook here, maybe bishop d5, kind of forced. Now if I recapture, then you will take on f6. So I must take on g7. And bishop takes f3, bishop f8, king f8, and we again reach the same position here. So actually, both bishop f6 and knight e7, we reach similar positions. Yeah, I can put it on full screen. Both bishop f6 and knight e7 lead to similar positions. The other one was rook e7, but here after rook f7, it seems like black is better. So I am very interested to see what Esipenko does here. Does he take on e1 first? Does he play directly b7? But let's go to Vidit's game and see what happened there, because all of you have been saying he's gone wrong somehow. So we left it at c4 and he brought his king up to e7 and rook a5, and we were expecting this line actually: rook c6, bishop a4, rook b6, rook takes c5, rook b4, now attacking here and here, rook a5, bishop c4, rook a7. This is what I thought, good chances of it happening. But he went king d8, which was a very bad move by Vidit actually here. I don't know what was his idea. I think his main point was that after rook c5, he can move in with the rook. There is no rook check and taking on a7. But after bishop c8, king f2, he went check, king g3, h6. And now the main issue is not even the fact that his position is, the thing is that his king side is soft. h5 will come in at the right time, fixing h6 as a weakness. In fact, right now, why not? h5. If you go g5, then h6 is weak. Otherwise, if you take, then I take here, and again h6 is weak. So it's like already you are pawn down and you also have a bad structure. Anupriya Pandey says f5 better than h, but Anupriya here also, like rook d5, maybe this could be something to, because now my king is entering like this or like this seems lost. The reason why h6, I think Vidit seems to have thought up that take, this endgame he has good chances to hold. Say king f4, king d6, and you don't have king g5. That's the reason why he seems to have played h6 here, and that is smart in a way, because he is looking at these rook endgames, bishop endgames, which can be defendable after rook d5. But I have a feeling that Karjakin will not go rook d5 so soon. h6, he can go h5 first, and this will be what he will play. Bishop c8, went king f2. In fact, actually, with its decision of king d8 is surprising, but after bishop c8, it seems like he is not like totally lost. King f2. I was wondering if he can put his bishop here on e6, then rook a5, a6, and king e3. King is coming up, and so that's why Vidit actually first gave a check, pushing the king to g3. So if he goes to e3, he loses the pawn on g2. So he went here, and now h6, and Sergey has played h5. These moves like h5 are very typical for these top players to play, and they play it and now if you go, let's say g5, which seems plausible, then I go rook c6 attacking h6, and if you play bishop e6, then already c5, and I'm threatening to take here. And if you were to play king d7, then rook a6 is very powerful, threatening here. So Alex Stein says, what if Vidit had played h5 himself, stopping h5? Good question. But then the rook trade, as we saw, could become dangerous. So the main reason why the rook trade was unappetizing with the pawn on h6 was that the king had no entry point. Now the king has entry point, like king f4, king d6, king g5, threatening king f6. And even if you kind of win this, I can come here, bishop d5, take, this pawn end game is lost. I'm winning this. So this seems quite difficult now to hold after h5 or with it. Let's see how that goes and whether Vidit can hold it or not. Going back to Praggnanandhaa's game, oh, he has played direct bishop b7. We were talking about first take on e1, take on e1 then, but I think more logical, right? Because in a way now there are no rook e7 ideas. Okay, let's say I take, and I think Pragg will do this. He'll go rook e1 here. And then it will become quite difficult for Esipenko to respond in this position, because how do you defend this knight? If you play rook e8, then maybe knight f6 check is a problem, or bishop f6, or maybe just queen e3 with the idea of knight f6. So, and then because direct knight f6, there is queen f6, and then if I go bishop f6, you would take on f3, I take back, and then you would take king f7 with the idea of knight f4. That's just horrible. So I need to be a little careful. In fact, long term black is better, like with the pawn structure and all, but short term the activity is in white's favor. You guys told me Nadal won, so I said it. I don't think he has. Sriram says, at what point do you think Vidit lost his actual flow in this event? I think when he lost to Pragg, that was one big impact. And then, of course, yesterday's game was not very pretty as well. Kadambini Kumari says, how does he protect the knight? That is a very good question, actually. How does he do it? Maybe he can move back. Then there is knight e7, queen e7, bishop e7, that same line, yeah, which we were talking about. or there is a tactical opportunity with g5. And this is interesting because if I take on e6, you will take on h4, and then this is hanging. So one point could be to take with pawn here, but once you take with the pawn, then I take with the knight. I don't know, the position gets really complicated. Queen g3 here, and now I'm threatening knight e7 check. So knight e4, bishop e4, queen takes g3, bishop takes g3, pawn takes, and bishop d6. It's complicated. It's complicated. So bishop b7. Okay, so Esipenko, Praggnanandhaa has 25 minutes here to decide his move. Most likely he's going to take, and he's going to play rook here. He might be considering bishop f6 ideas, for sure. It's a possibility, but then there is queen f7, and he might feel that there is nothing much happening there. He could be looking at knight e7 check as well here. Rook e7, queen b7. But then after take, and I don't know, maybe knight c3. It seems like black seems to be doing okay here. Tactically, he's fine because rook e7, there is queen d4 check with d3 falling. So these are some of the variations that are right now in the air. Meanwhile, going back to Vidit's game, after h5, Vidit is thinking he has 7 minutes 41 seconds. I think psychologically very difficult position to play because already you had a bad result yesterday and you're not in great mood, and again you are put under pressure. So psychologically it's difficult. Bishop f5 is what some of you have been mentioning. The main issue here is rook a5, and then how do you defend this? Maybe you go back rook d7, but then the king is free to move as g2 is not hanging. I come king f4. My threat is king e5 to f6 here. So that could become dangerous. Parth says rook d6 here. Interesting move, rook d6 actually. Let's say I go rook f5. You must play a6. Now I push c5. f7 is attacked, so you go rook f6. I take, you take, and maybe bishop d5. Yeah, this could be one way to play. And I mean, it looks really difficult, but perhaps black can still fight on, like it's not over. The game is not over. It is clear that he is under big pressure, but he can keep fighting. We also have some other games here. Nils Grandelius versus Duda. It's around equal right now. We have Van Foreest versus Samuel. Sorry, this is Van Foreest Shankland. It's around equal. Nils versus Duda. Wow, what a crazy position. Take bishop b2. Seems like Nils has a great attack here, yeah. Or maybe he will end in a draw. Like he'll take on b2, then after king g7, he might take here, then take here, and then take here, and then here, and then check, and then king e8, and then queen g6, then king d8, and then rook f8, and rook here, and rook f7. Bishop d7, and then try to play this position. Wow, This is going to be interesting. Duda versus Nils right now. Oh, he's taken with the king. He's taken it. Now he must take here. Otherwise, he's lost. If he doesn't take on g7, he's gone. But if he takes on g7, then he's going to take on g5. Wow, what a game. Nils actually is such an exciting player. He loves to play attacking chess. I don't know if it is winning or not, but it's like a massive attack. Rook sack incoming, guys. And by the way, Anish Giri drew very quickly today. He drew in the same way that he drew against Karjakin with black. This variation. Draw, 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 draw. But in Anish's defense, he is like, I'm black. So, meanwhile, Caruana and Mamedyarov drew also pretty quickly. Here, they just agreed to a draw. Vidit still thinking there. Praggnanandhaa is also. Oh, Pragg took. So this takes is going to happen, and now rook e1. Pragg is going to play that. Yes, we'll keep an eye on that game for sure. Let's go to Arjun's game. What is Arjun up to? He's still playing. Yep, Arjun is still playing. Arjun is still fighting. We saw till bishop e6 here. He took, pawn takes, king b1, rook f8, rook c1, knight c6, rook here, rook f7, rook d1, rook d8. Okay, interesting. h4. You can't take on e6 because of king f5, and then g3 and e6 both hanging. So bishop e1, king f6, h3, and now this is the position on the board. Sachin says, did VD have an alternative not to play queen b2 and not get into this endgame? Yes, he could have chosen, like in the opening where he took d takes e4, he could have taken knight takes e4. But this was his preparation. And this is what he had prepared for the game, and he thought it was equal. Wesley So Carlsen had ended in draw before. So he had his reasons for choosing this, which was not wrong. He got an equalish position. But then I think he was not in the mindset perhaps today. That could be one of the reasons. Shriram says, what are the chances for Indian players in the candidates? Okay, I'll talk about it. First, let's go back here. Knight e6. Pragg is thinking. Yeah, he goes rook e1 as we predicted. Now this is under pressure. That was natural move. Now exciting moment in Praggnanandhaa's game. 15 minutes for Esipenko. 13 moves to make. This is going to be interesting. Will Esipenko be able to, what does he do here? And also we have to see whether Nils has sacrificed his rook on g5. Oh, Duda is still thinking, but what is Duda thinking? Because Duda can't play rook f7. He's just losing h6. He can't do that. So I don't know what Duda is thinking. He should play quickly because Nils has 9 minutes, but he is afraid of getting checkmated here. King g7 take. And the point is, king h7 is a blunder. Can you find why? Guys, tactical training. Vidit has come back rook d6. That's a good defensive move. Maybe the best there. Guys, also like the stream if you're enjoying the commentary, and let's take the likes to 1000, and let's enjoy. Last day today. Oh, Nadal now won. Yeah, very nice. Thank you. And has the most Grand Slam wins with 21. Wow. Are Mayuresh, why are you sacrificing another rook? Deepak Kannan, very good. Harish Sriram, very good. Mrs. Kalyani Bagul, Nishant Sai, Shubham Gupta, Vinod Sridhar, Shuvam Gupta, Cold Eyed, Ishwar Himore, Sachin Ranade, Varun Venkatraman, Jibitesh. Chess is fun. Very good, guys. The move here is rook g6. Fantastic move. threatening a checkmate, you can't stop it. Just kabhi na you think, oh, I'll give a rook sack and I will try to attack and all. But if you just are calm and you breathe and you're like, okay, what happens to rook g6? You find the best move here. There's no way to stop this. So after taking rook g5, you can't move your king. You must take the rook. You must bite the bullet. Because even if you go king f7, then after rook f1, you're just allowing me the same attack that I get without even winning a rook. So you must take on g5 here, and then I take with the queen, and then you go king f7. And this is, I think, the moment where Duda is just making sure that he is safe, because queen g6, king e7 is fine. So you get your rook into the game. Again, you can't go here to e7 because the queen controls it. You can't go to g7. So the only square is king e8. Again, the only check, it's like a forced line. Yeah, if you take on f8, you are like a rook and a piece down. So you give a check with g6. Now if you play king e7, there is queen g7 check and big trouble there because you lose there. So you must play king, but if you go king d7, once again there is queen g7 and I don't let you run. So you play king d8. Now if I play queen g5, you run away with c7. So I must take on f8. So you see, even in a line which is looking very complicated, it's many times just forced. You don't have many moves. If bishop e8, queen takes e8 is gone. So you go king c7. Now rook check, and now bishop d7. I think this is the position which will happen. Right now we are on move 28. This is move 34. And then you play h6. And you tell your opponent that, look, I want to push, I want to go to g7, I want to put pressure here, and I want to threaten to queen. Okay, let's have a look at what this will happen. We have predicted 6-7 moves down the line. Let's see if that happens. Praggnanandhaa versus Esipenko. Oh, he's blundered. Rook e1, he has played queen d7. And guys, why is this a blunder? I don't know. The engine says it's blunder, but actually, it's not so simple. You know, if a player like Esipenko, who had many choices here, like g5, knight c7 back, he plays queen d7, it has to be a little bit more complex. But I think I get it. The reason seems to be, guys, what do you think? Should white play here? Let's see what are the moves that you come up with, and then we will try to analyze. Knight f6, guys, थोड़ा धैर्य रखो, थोड़ा संयम रखो. Knight f6 is such a short vision move. There is no, like, knight f6, don't you see that when you move your knight, this is then hanging, so knight takes, rook takes. Can't do it. So I'm going to show you all how many of you got tempted with knight f6. Very bad. All of you here, and this is just for your betterment, don't go so quickly into a variation just because, you know, there's this saying, a padzer sees a check, padzer gives a check. If you see a check, don't really rush into giving a check. Calm yourself down. What are the other options that you guys are saying? Here, the second main move is bishop e7. Okay. Knight e7. Queen e3, very interesting. Queen f2, very nice. Okay. So let's have a look at these moves that you have suggested. So firstly, if I play bishop e7, I'm not a big fan of this move. Rook f7. Doesn't look that you have achieved anything. If I go knight f6, as we just said, rook f6 is just over, black wins. Queen e3 was another suggestion to get the queen out from here and threaten knight f6, getting the queen out from this diagonal. But then bishop d5, pawn takes d5 and knight c7, and it seems like black is doing okay. So could be a good idea to actually play queen f2. Same concept, threatening knight f6, check. And you can't get rid of it. Like you can't play queen king g7, because then I can go g4 and open up your king here. Let's say if you take here, I go f5, and this is very, very dangerous. Now you see the power of two bishops and the knight in the center. It can get really worse. So you have to kind of eliminate this knight. You take, I go knight, say, to c7, and now the rook goes into e7, which you couldn't do when your queen was on e3 because the queen blocked the rook. And now after queen c8, I can go maybe queen a2, putting pressure on the knight, and then a7 is hanging. So that looks very interesting. By the way, Praggnanandhaa has played his move. He's played his queen to g3. Now the only reason why this move could be worse than what we just discussed, queen f2, is because in the end, after bishop d5, cd5, knight c7, rook e7, queen c8, there is no queen a2 here in this position. But even if there is no queen a2, just c4. And if we look at this position, white is in driver's seat in a big way, because his rook is active, his bishops are beautifully positioned. He would love to reroute his bishop to c3 if he gets a chance. So queen g3, not at all a bad move. This is a great position for Pragg, and if he manages to, and he's putting his opponent under big pressure. Esipenko has gone wrong on the previous moves. Let's see, 11 minutes to go. Also, a big threat now is knight f6 check. Naturally, this is not going to be good. Now I have knight e7, threatening knight f5 check, rook f5, bishop f5. The pawn is pinned because queen is here. Let's have a look at quickly on Vidit versus Karjakin versus Vidit. Vidit had gone rook d6, and then Karjakin took, king came up. Maybe Karjakin could have played king f4 directly. Yeah? Taking helps Vidit in a way. g5, king e5, rook check, king was pushed back, rook e2, g4, rook d2, and Vidit now maybe has some chances here. Perhaps should have kept his rook active on the 7th rank. Not easy actually, but then rook h2 with the idea of rook a5, a6. But he went rook d6, and now Karjakin is still thinking. Actually, Karjakin has many opportunities like this to exchange, but after this position, the reason that black can hold is because white's pawns are on light squares. So I have a feeling that this can be a holdable position, but okay, bishop c2 is a nice idea here with the idea of bishop f5. You can go into a rook endgame also. Bishop c2, bishop f5. After he takes, you take, and then you are able to put some pressure. But we'll see. Or maybe first push your pawn to a4, a5, bishop c2, bishop here, and then exchange. Okay, going back to Praggnanandhaa's game, queen g3, Esipenko thinking he has 9 minutes on the clock. What about Van Foreest versus, Grandelius versus Duda? Yes, what we had thought of has happened. After king g7, Nils chopped, chop, 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 check, mara, और इधर आ चुके हैं. We are on this position now, and the question is, who is better? Let's see. Van Foreest versus Sam Shankland is still in progress. Van Foreest seems to be slightly better because he's a pawn up. Going back to Praggnanandhaa versus Esipenko after queen g3 in 8 minutes 40 seconds. Yeah, also let's have a quick look at Arjun's game. And Arjun here with black. I think black is under some pressure because there's a bishop versus knight. Generally, when pawns are on both sides, the bishop is a superior piece. Here, the bishop is slightly limited in scope. Praggnanandhaa versus Esipenko. Queen g3. I'm just trying to think of any other good moves for black because knight f6 is such a big threat. King g7 doesn't look good. I think Esipenko must take the knight. Why is he thinking so much? Because I think, like, humanly, you just don't like the fact that the rook is coming on the 7th rank. You feel like, no, this cannot be the right solution. If I have to push my queen back to c8, this looks bad. And I think Pragg is just very right in his assessment here that this position looks great. He can drop his bishop back and get the queen in. Let's say knight b6, queen e3, rook e8. Black could get this, but yeah, I think g4. We'll open up the position before he can kind of equalize. Queen takes, queen d7, maybe take on g, or maybe first take on f5, take on f5, queen d7, knight d7, and bishop f5, attacking the rook, attacking the knight, and this endgame should be very interesting for white. So let's see if we will reach that endgame or it will get over in the middle game itself. By the way, some of you had been asking about what are Indian players' chances in the Grand Prix. So first of all, only the first Grand Prix groups have been released. The second one will be released later. So in the first Grand Prix groups, we have 16 players divided into 4 groups of 4 players. Vidit is in the group of Levon Aronian, Dubov, and Vincent Kemar. We hope that Dubov will get back into his health and will be able to play. Hari Krishna is in the group of Wesley So, Lenier Dominguez, and Alexei Shirov. And I think Hari Krishna's group is slightly tougher because Dominguez and Wesley So are 2 very solid players. In fact, the entire group is very solid apart from Shirov. Like Hari Krishna is also super solid. Now the point is that you have to first of all finish top of your group. It'll be a double round robin, so 4 players will play against each other like twice. So double round robin, 6 games, and you have to score the maximum number of points in order to reach the semi-finals. And then you get points if you reach semi-finals, if you finish second in your group, whatever is your end score. But it won't be easy. It won't be easy. Okay, in Vidit's game now 40 moves have been completed, so Vidit doesn't have time pressure anymore. He can think aram se. Oh, he's gone rook f6 here. But this seems dangerous because after, I don't know if somewhere Karjakin will enter into a fist fight here with take, and now very important move c5, because after take on g4 you have c6, and the main point is that c7 is incoming. Also maybe the king is moving in. Let's say h5, bishop d5, rook f2, king c5. I'm coming in here, mating threats galore. h5, maybe rook g7, I go to the other side, h3, c7, king here, king b6. If you give me a check, I go to c6, h2, and rook g8 mate. I'm just showed you a line where maybe first rook c2 check, king d6, somehow a mate here is threatened. So just an idea, but that requires a lot of faith in your calculation that you give up this pawn on f3 and also g4 and use your c pawn, rook and bishop and king to launch a mating attack, which is not easy, not at all easy. And we will see if Vidit is able, Karjakin is able to find it. Meanwhile, in Grandelius Nils versus Duda, after king c7, Nils is taking his time. He has 2 minutes. He has 7 more moves to make. Not easy. And let's look at what Esipenko did because he was low on time. He goes rook f7. And now this is over, guys. Rook f7. What sort of move is that? Why not knight f6 check? Isn't Praggnanandhaa just winning? I think Esipenko has just collapsed here. Knight f6 takes, bishop f6. What's the point? Just an exchange up. Also, the dark squares are terribly weak. Pragg is going to take this one home. Now, also there is another move, knight e7 check. Because take, bishop takes. If rook, queen takes, what's the winning move here, guys? White to play. Very simple, very simple. Yes, bishop f5. Vignesh, Chess Hub 64, Om Shri Prasad, Himesh Jain, Apple Santhu, Pragun Mahipal, Savita Chess, Gaurav Shastri, Kritik Gujran, roll number 80, Kunal Gupta, Aman Singh, Ayush Maurya. Well done. Just take this and you can't take back because it is pinned, and next move you're going to win this. If you were to play bishop back, then I take, and I keep making use of this pin, by the way, f5, and you can't take, you're losing a pawn. So rook f7 is a massive mistake. He had to take on d5. I don't know what is his idea here. I think Pragg will just play this, and even if you play like king f7, I just can drop it back. What did you gain? No clue. No clue as to why he did this. King f7 here. Maybe queen h4 is stronger, but this is done and dusted game. Let's see how Pragg manages to finish him off. Yes, of course. Praggnanandhaa has played pretty well. In this tournament. Let's go back to Vidit's game. Oh, he went bishop d1. He didn't take. That's what I was saying. Yeah, it was not easy to take this pawn. It's quite difficult. So bishop d1, and now Vidit can just play a6, and he's still in the game. He's still fighting hard. If he's able to draw this one, that will be a huge boost for his next event. It also helps him to maintain his rating in this tournament. I think he's gaining a couple of points, and he doesn't, if he loses, he will lose rating points. It's always a bit psychological there. Pragg not making his move quickly. Yeah? He's thinking कि भाई क्या करे. Mayur says will be a good win for Pragg, beating junior number 2 and world number 23. Correct. That is true. Savita says, I hope Pragg won't overthink and play something else. I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's true. The only thing which you can be slightly worried about is the fact that he can move your bishop away and then capture this pawn, but it's no big deal, yeah. Like even here, queen f7, You don't even have to get your bishop back. You can just hit here and then take here. So let's go to the game of Arjun. Arjun has got his knight to d5. 40 moves have been completed. Well, what I like about Arjun's play is that he is keeping the game going. And yes, it's a draw, but I get a feeling that he might be able to outplay his opponent. First of all, he has super confidence in his abilities right now. So an opponent might be a bit stressed out about it. Secondly, he's just playing, he has nothing like, oh, I'll win or lose. Just let's play. Let's see what happens. Just keep going. Let's keep it going. Grandelius versus Duda. Oh, they exchanged everything and maybe it's a draw now. So how did they actually reach here? Oh, he took here on c8. Took h6. Bishop e4. Acha. Took here. Smart. If this, by the way, that's not a great idea here. Why? White to play and win, guys. White to play. Yes. Vibhor Bhatti, Vomesh, Shubham, Jibitesh, Apple, Santu, Status, Vignesh, Jay Anjankar, Amay, Aryan, Aditya, Rakshak. Fantastic. Queen g7 and he would have to resign. Because then you have to take, it's a check is met with a counter check, I take and I queen. So you have to actually first take, queen h8, king here takes, but then checks, and they agreed to a draw. Nice game by two wonderful players, Nils and Jan-Krzysztof. Going back to Praggnanandhaa's game, he has played knight f6, check, that is the right move, and bishop f6 and king f7. And now Pragg can decide between getting his bishop out or playing queen h4 here. Queen h4 seems to be the best idea here because then you are threatening to take on h7. How does he defend? Maybe he has to play h5 there. But then can't we go like... I'm sure there is a nice way to win. Let's say queen h4, h5. I was thinking one way is to maybe sack here and then take here, but maybe it's too much, right? Bishop h8 was another move I was thinking with the idea of queen f6 check. Let's just look at this. Take, check, king f6, queen h6, king f7, queen h7. Somehow black is able to survive. You can't sacrifice so much. H5, what else? Can we go like bishop h8 with the idea of here? Maybe queen e7, take. This is a position. I think Pragg would not want to go into an endgame here, although he's better, and also like rook a1 looks very good with the idea of bishop c2. Yeah, so maybe this is the way. Bishop h8, queen h4 and bishop h8 could be the ideas, but also bishop g5 back, not at all bad. Oh yes, he plays queen h4. Pragg in good form here. He's now threatening to take on h7 and win the queen. I was thinking if knight b6 is possible, because if now queen h7, king f6, this is not hanging because there is the knight. But then, I mean, yeah, this should be very strong. Also, like if knight f4, Rook e7 looks very strong. Yeah, that's just bad. Let's go back to Vidit's game. After bishop d1, he has played a6, which is the right move here. And Karjakin has still a lot of work to do to win this. Not easy. Bishop b7 is an idea, putting pressure here. Okay, Van Foreest versus Shankland. Van Foreest is a pawn up. But this is always a problem. When your pawns, too many of them are fixed on the same color as your bishop, you are not able to win. He can put his king back there, and black has good chances of holding this. Let's go to Praggnanandhaa versus Esipenko. He's played h5. I like bishop h8, by the way. He goes bishop g5, which is again the best move. Praggnanandhaa is making great moves. Actually, what Pragg has realized is that he doesn't have to speed it up. He can go slow. And also one more thing is that if knight c3, white has a very deadly move here. Can you find it? White to play. Yes, Rakshit, India's Got Talent form. You can fill it until the 31st of Jan, that is tomorrow. Also, the chess course books are available on discount. The earlier date was until tomorrow, but I think we will extend the 50% discount on that. It is the second link in the description, I believe. First link is about the India's Got Chess Talent, where we are going to impart training to some of the people who fill the form and we think are good talents whom we can support and help them just a little bit and push them in the right direction. Yes, bishop takes f5 is the correct move. Apple Santu, Anonymous, Vihan Kapoor, Bhavik Bafna, Samar Verma, Prashant Karmahe, Siddhant Kumar. Well done. So take. Now let's say king can't go here and here. King can go to g7 and g8. Let's say it goes check, knight back, and rook e7. That is over. Mate here, so you have to give up your queen. He goes queen c6, threatening a mate in 1. Interesting. Pragg just drops his queen back, tells Esipenko, I'm not going to fall for your tricks. On the surface, it looks like black has some compensation here because he has a piece and a pawn for a rook. But actually, he doesn't. Because in many of the positions, bishop takes f5, gf5, queen f5 is like a super strong attack. And that is the reason why there is hardly any compensation here. Twelve Knight says, did Esipenko underestimate Pragg? I'm not sure that he underestimated Pragg. It's just that Pragg managed to create like very interesting play here. Such a complex position with pawns, double pawns, white having the bishop pair, weaknesses around. And this a4 move was such a cool move by Pragg, giving up a pawn but getting his knight in the center. And I think this was a really classy decision by him. And then his opponent made a huge blunder with rook f7. Fg5 now. Let's take the knight. 6 more moves to go. Praggnanandhaa is better here. Has a huge advantage. Now the big threat is bishop takes f5 because gf5, queen f5. And then the king is getting checkmated here with the rook coming in. Vidit's game against Karjakin. Okay, it's not moved much. Bishop e2 has been played. Of course, Vidit is worse. He's a pawn down. He's black in this position. But we can, I mean, we don't know how it'll pan out. Let's wait and watch. Some drawing chances still there in the position. Going back to Pragg's game, Esipenko has just played his bishop back to c8. And here, I think an amazing move. Blasting open the position. I think Pragg will find it. Pragg is good with such moves. He will. Can you find it, guys? Let's see how many of you can find it. White to play. Jibitesh Saha says queen e3. Okay, Jibitesh, now you can move your queen, right? Because there's no queen g2 mate. It seems good. But queen d7 maybe holding everything together for the time being. Aman Singh, Aradhya, Aditya Pawar, Butter Chicken, Saptarshi Maiti, Vaibhav Dubey, Kuldeep Tiwari, Arun Bhai, Pravesh. Fantastic. All in one PK. Aradhya, Jai Pandit, Deepam Ghosh, Nupur Sancheti, account number 2. Shubham Gupta, Lucian, Vihan Kapoor. Yeah, the move here is g4. What a class move. Okay, couple of things. One is that firstly, bishop b7 makes no difference because after I take, you give me a check, I go to f2, there are no more checks in the position. So that does not work. And after g4, if you play here take, then after queen h7, I will checkmate you. Queen e7, king g8, queen d8, rook e7 next. That is over. So, and if you play f takes g4, then now I can go queen e3. And the problem is that next move I have queen f4. I'm threatening queen e7. It's winning. Just opens up the position. But Pragg went direct queen e3. And now Esipenko goes queen d7. So there is no direct way to enter the position yet. But I think one interesting way could be to play bishop e2 to f3 to d5. I mean, this bishop is right now a little limited in scope. Another one is bishop c2. Million says bishop e4, Million, but take here doesn't look good. I mean, that just took f1, then king g7. I mean, here bishop f5, gf5. I don't see a finish there. Don't think that's best. Let's be calm. Let's play coolly. h4 could also be a nice move. Just Shanti say. Of course, you can never take on c3. I can go bishop f5 and take this. So that is not a problem. Smooth 35. We have 5 more moves to make before the time control of 40 moves. After bishop e2 in Vidit's game that we have on our live board here, it seems like Vidit is taking his time there. Maybe king c7 looks okay. Vaibhav Gautam asks, Delhi Open hoga? Not sure, yeah. I think it was supposed to happen in March. I mean, it is supposed to happen in March. Hopefully it will. All the GM tournaments. But this new variant which is coming out, Neo Cove, you have to, I mean, I feel very, very sad for the fact that so many players who want to, get on with it, play tournaments, just not able to. So here after bishop e2, I guess this might be the best move here that Pragg might do. Like, it's a very human way to play. You ask yourself, which is my worst piece? The queen and the rook look good. Bishop is not the best. Then you see that, okay, I can put it here. And you kind of play it. Going to Arjun's game against Maurizzi. It's all even for now. I guess Arjun is aiming for g4 at the right moment. Maybe he'll put his rook on g7 and then go for g4, making this into a weakness. Apple Santu says bishop c2, d1, f3. Also nice. Savita Chess says what if knight b6? But then still bishop f3, right? Because if knight c4, bishop d5 check. Rajat Agarwal says there's no variant as Nyoko. It's a 10-year-old virus that happens in bats. Okay. So there's nothing to panic. Okay, great. He plays queen e2. Well, I haven't read that up much, so I'm not a big expert there. But I just hope that things start. Tournaments should start. That's the big thing. There are so many of you who can actually go to events, try to get your rating, play in tournaments. No, that's the main thing. Pragg has gone bishop queen e2. He's very calm and cool, and he's saying that Esipenko, you can take here, but and then I'll go queen b2 and my queen will enter here. So that doesn't look good. Shaibi says, how will you choose the participants for India's Got Talent? Well, on multiple things. One is, of course, the age. The second is your talent, the games that you have put in. The third one is your hunger for improvement. And the questions were thought out well before putting it there. Also, that's the main reason why I said that you should fill the form carefully and try to answer as honestly as possible. Okay, Vidit has gone rook f4 check, king e3, and now bishop to b7. I think this leads to kind of forcing line now. Maybe that should work for Karjakin, which is starting off with rook f5. And then if you take, I take with the pawn. I mean, not clear. Yeah, again, as I said, whenever you have an advantage, very difficult to make moves that change the position in a concrete way. It's like, there's no going back after that, after you play rook f5. But while if you play a move like a3, you can always go back to that. So generally, human beings prefer not making decisions when they are not needed to. H5 maybe, or first let's improve the king e7. You go f4, trying to exchange. Let's say king f6. Maybe, I'm not sure, maybe this position, bishop g4, take on f4 maybe, king f4. This should win for white. This should win. So perhaps for Sergey it's clear, yeah, like rook f5, take on f5, take on f5, now threaten to play this. So maybe start off with h5, so that if you play f4, I have g4. That could be one of the ways. But then I don't know, king d, bishop d3, king e7, bishop e4, bishop c8, c5, king f6, c6, king e5. I don't know, maybe this is not so clear, right? because this seems like how to win now as white. BD3 maybe, but where next? I wait. Maybe you go this way, but then I have this H pawn. So I doubt whether Sergey is going to play rook f5. I think it's very doubtful. Yeah, Arjun's game still 40 moves completed. Marc Andrea will get 50 minutes more. Uh, Going back here, Praggnanandhaa's game. Praggnanandhaa very close to beating Esipenko. And by the way, after Queen E2, Queen D8, he went Queen A2, Bishop D7, Bishop C2, Knight went back, and now last two moves before time control. Can we simply take the pawn on A7? I think so. We can. Pragg has been quite careful here and he's played it well. He's played it well. He's winning. Yeah, I mean, Pragg is still thinking for his move. What else can he be thinking of? I'm a bit surprised. Maybe H4, yeah, but in Queen C7 he'll hold this. When you take here, he can not take on G5 because B6 is hanging. Yeah, he takes on A7, and maybe Esipenko can resign here with a clear conscience because there's nothing much left. But I don't think he will. He will play on. 1 minute left. Hugh Mohan says, can classical games be played online going ahead? Yes, there is this format, right, which is called hybrid. Could becomes a possibility if the tournaments don't resume normally soon. Queen B7 40th move by Praggnanandhaa has been played, and I think a great way for Pragg to end this tournament. He is he's going to win against Esipenko. By the way, threatening now Bishop A4 in the position, which is pinned here. So and I think this for Pragg, he would have gained rating right here in this tournament. I think so. Um, Praggnanandhaa, he has right now a plus 0.4. So with this win, he might gain 4 to 5 low points. But what a big experience for the young lad. He's played against some of the best players in the world. 97 has been played. This time, I believe that this is very much a good idea. Just getting the bishop. I mean, your main aim is to get the bishop. How about rook a1 with the idea of rook a7? That looks also very nice. Rook a7, bishop c6. Huh? Let's play it carefully. We have a super chat here. What happens to VD next tournament? Would lost matches affect performance? It all depends on how he is able to recover. Also, this last game I think is an important one. I mean, not from the perspective of standings in the tournament or anything of that sort, but just for his mental good feeling. And if he's able to just refresh himself in the next 1 week that he has, today's 30th, I think he has to go to Berlin first from Weikanse. So he'll travel to Amsterdam. Maybe from Amsterdam, there'll be a flight to Berlin. He'll reach there, he'll check in, then he has like few days there. He'll try to, relax a bit. I think these 3-4 days are a very good thing for him because he can relax. But also, it's very important to have the right people around you. So I don't know if Alon Grinfield will be accompanying him to the Grand Prix as well. And if that is happening, that will help. Having a person with you, with whom you can talk, with whom you can discuss things, is always very, very useful. Uh, so yeah, I think when I mean, ideal world, you would want to travel with your second, but then it also depends on the resources which you have. And that is where I feel sponsors are very important. They allow you to go to tournaments in the best possible way, having your team with you and so on. So let's hope that is what will happen. F3 pawn is weak, says Priya Mirza. Yeah, true, Priya, but I think that the winning idea is rook f5. The main reason why this is not so easy to play, I mean, if white can get f4 next and then just exchange these pawns, I think white will be better here and winning. But h5 is the move that will cause problems to calculate, because f4 g4, and then you are giving two passers, and then you have to figure out like king here, already h4 with the threat of h3 h2. It's not easy. It's not easy. Yeah, let's see what happens here. Um, Also, Praggnanandhaa versus Esipenko, after 40 moves have been completed. Pragg has a lot of time now to just figure out what is the best way to continue. Just put the pawn on h4 is also one way to continue. Van Foreest versus Sam Shankland, as we discussed, white is a pawn up, but with this king blockading it, it's not going to be easy. Also, rook a6 putting pressure here. This most likely should end in a draw. Arjun Erigaisi here. Also, the game has moved a bit with a4 by Marc Andrea Maurizzi, and Arjun has to decide now how to continue. I think rook c7 is one. The main problem for Arjun is that when he goes g4 takes and rook takes, his a7 pawn is hanging. So he cannot really easily play these positions because of the a7 weakness. Also, Maurizzi is going for a5. So most likely this game would end in a draw. That's what my feeling is right now. Oh, he's played it. Wow. Wow. That's a bold move by Sergey. And he thought for how much time? Oh, he just thought for 12 minutes. With it takes, pawn takes. I have no doubt that with it will go h5 here. But this is a great decision by Karjakin. I don't think that Vidit is going to play king e7. The reason is because of f4. I felt like king f6, fg5, then hg5. Even this could be something to play for. Yeah, like take bishop g4, king e5. So maybe king e7 is also something that Vidit could think of. King e7. But h5, the main point is that king d4, h4 is already not good. So you might have to go king, if you go king d4, h4, king e5, h3. Already black is the one who's winning here. So careful, by the way. So maybe not king d4, maybe bishop d3. Oh, sorry, bishop d3. Now if h4, king f2, king e7, bishop e4, and you can't take this because if you take f takes, king f6, c5, and you have two passers, I agree, but I have three, and that's the reason why white will win this position. 6 f7, king here, c7, and white wins. Yes, Vignesh, it is football theorem that when ahead in material exchange pieces, but on the other hand, it does make your. It's not so simple to find the winning idea because I'm thinking, what is the winning idea? Let's say king e7, bishop d3, king f6, bishop e4, and bishop c8. So, how do you win now? King d4, I play h5. c5 is already kind of drawn position. So maybe there is some very accurate way to win here. c5 maybe, king f6, bishop d3, threatening this now. h5, bishop e4, I'll wait, bishop c8, you'll play c6, I will go king e5. How do you win? What is the way to convert this? Bishop d3, maybe, I don't know, h4 maybe, a3. You want to put me in zugzwang maybe. A5, like king f2, king f6, bishop e4, king e5, king g2, king f6, king h3, and then you come here, and then because the bishop has unfortunately no moves to go to, like maybe you can go bishop a6, then c7, bishop back, king g4, bishop a6, but then maybe bishop d5 with the idea of bishop e6, or you can start with f4 and then take. So it's a complicated win, yeah. Going back to Praggnanandhaa's game against Esipenko, bishop e6 played by h4 by Pragg, bishop e6 by Esipenko. Esipenko took like a couple of minutes to make. I know, I mean, for Esipenko the writing is on the wall, so he might not think for much for his moves. But I'm still wondering how Praggnanandhaa is going to try and convert this. One very good idea can be to play bishop a4, bishop takes c4, and bishop d7, or just activate that bishop somehow. That could be a very good way to continue. Bishop d3 is another natural way to play. Just defend this and hope that next move you can get your rook in. But the problem is after queen h8, I am putting pressure here and it leads to some kind of a passive position. So after bishop a4, I was thinking, can we go like queen h8? But then there is bishop d7 with the idea of take. And if you play bishop d7, queen d7, e7 is hanging. So bishop c4 could be a move here after bishop a4. I'm not sure, yeah. Maybe bishop b5, queen a6, bishop c4. You want to exchange a piece. It's not simple, guys. It's not, chess conversion. You have to have patience. At the same time, if you are too patient, you lead in, you are, sometimes you miss the opportunity. So you have to be like, how is that? I don't know. It's like you have to be like a tiger who's on the prowl, who till the right moment is hiding behind the bushes, but at the right moment goes for the jump. That you have to realize that which is the moment where you have to give some material up. And I know that the margin for error here is quite high, like quite a lot. Like Pragg can just make a lot of okay moves and still win, but I'm not just, it's not very clear to me how he should convert this. Okay, Vidit goes king e7, as we felt like either king e7 or h5. c5 played by Sergey. Okay, interesting. Sergey Karjakin's idea is c5. Okay, what if I go here, king f6? I think king f6, bishop d3. I mean, Ghum Firke white should be able to win this, but is white winning here? Maybe. I mean, of course, we are just playing for two results now, draw and white wins, but the chances. Arjun has made some progress. He's got his king in. If Arjun is able to get his king to c4 and then to b3, that's some progress. What about a5? Now I take, bishop takes, and then rook f2 check could get a little bit worrisome for white. So Arjun pushing slowly. Rook c8. Nice move by Maurizzi. Hey, but knight c5. Why not? Threatening king c4 and king b3. a5, king c4. This is not simple. Take. And if b5 is hanging now, and if you go rook g8, rook f5, one nice move here, or even knight e4, because if you give me a check, I'll take this. And this is now not simple. Here it's a matter of, I think Arjun should be able to do some, like put pressure here. The movie show says, yesterday I started watching your imbalance theory streams and they are so good. Thanks for putting this great content for free. I think I feel that imbalance theory is really something that is very nice, because I have put in effort to find good positions, to find good material, and it is one of my good works out there. So if you do spend your time like couple of hours into 16 episodes, which is like 32 hours in all, I think it'll help you. Also, Grandmaster Chess series is great, of course. Endgame, next episode, I have to prepare for it carefully. I did realize that even though I recovered from COVID, uh, I still am not like able to function at like complete 100% efficiency. It does feel like I get tired, I feel sleepy, and so on. So I'm not sure if that is a problem. Parag Dingare says, how do players manage for their stay and travel? I think all of them have to do their own, usually. In some tournaments, the organizers provide it, like here in Vaikhanse they do. But not the travel, I believe, stay only. Whatever money you have to spend, you either spend it on your own or you have sponsors for it. I mean, for Sergey, the way in which he converts this position is not 100% clear to me. Like you go king e5, bishop e4, bishop c8 back. You can't exchange, as we saw. Bishop c8 back. And then c6. And this position is still where you can reach in your analysis. But then how? How to win it? And maybe that is where we looked at somehow the king coming from this side. Let's say a3. Maybe if you go back, then king d4 now. Let's see. For Vidit, it's a question when to push h5, because h5 comes with its own drawbacks. If you keep your pawns here, then the king is coming in like this. And if you push h5, now you can't really go with your king all the way, because h4 and black also has his pawn. So, but the problem with h5 is that now he can go back, king e5, king f2, or maybe first, let's take away the last square from the bishop as well, which is bishop d3. So now the bishop can't go here, can't go here, can't go here, can't go here. Everything is, so now the king has to keep moving. So king f6, king f2, king e5, king g3, king f6, and now finally f4. And I think this is what Sergey has in mind. If g4, king h4, if you take here, I take with the king, this becomes weak. If you play h4, I will play king g4, g takes f4, maybe king h4 or king f4, both moves should win, then I'll go and take this. Yeah, this has happened, bishop e4, bishop c8 here. And so if you see, the bishop has now been taken away, all the squares. I think a3 is a he splits it. So a5 maybe by Vidit now, or h5. If, by the way, Vidit doesn't play h5, here a3, let's just put it up there, or a3 no. First let's play bishop d3 maybe, taking away that square, king d6. Okay, let's play a3. Play a3, bishop a6, bishop d3, you go back, and now king f2. Okay, king d6, f6 is strong, so let's not do that. King f6 maybe, king g3, king e5, and king g4, threatening here. Yeah, it seems like this is the plan to win. And if you play, let's say, instead of king e5, h5, then f4, as we just discussed. Oh, by the way, he goes for something different. h5, he goes c7. What's the plan with c7? He sees that king d6, there is f6. And you can't go here because it's just over. f7, f8, queen if you take this pawn. And if you try to stop here, then f7 already is winning. If you take here, I queen here. Otherwise, I queen here. So that doesn't work. So you can't move the king, but c7. Okay, you can't move the bishop because of bishop b7. Let's say you go h4. And then this idea anyway, which we have discussed. C7, let's say king f6, king d4, h4. I think he'll go back. Maybe that's the point, yeah? Like you come with your king here, threatening here, and then you force h4 and then you run back. And then you come this way and maybe something like that. Praggnanandhaa has played rook a1. Interesting. What about taking here? Ah, taking here is bad. Guys, do you find it? White to move and win. Gaurav Tripathi says, what is Lucina position? I feel very alienated when people talk about it. You just Google it or just put it on YouTube. You'll find it. You will not feel alienated. Not bishop b3, that's also good, but rook a8. Yes, rook a8 is the right move. Muthu Sarvesh, Pranav Dandekar, Bhavik Bafna, Parth Rathi, no, not Parth, rook a8. Swastik Sahu, Vaibhav Dubey, Bhanu Pratap, Vibhor Bhatti, Divyanshu Singh, Vinod Sridhar, Vivan Malpani, Shubhi Gupta, Malika G, Lena Shriram, Suraj Prithvi, Vignesh, Patrick Bro, Shaibi Binoj, Poonam K, Amit Roy, Muthu Sarvesh. Yeah, Queen Trap. So he can't go there. But we were thinking of Queen h8, right? But then this is coming, and you have no time to take this. And then if you are forced to go back, now I have time to get my bishop in. And if you were to take ever here, then rook a8. So rook a8 idea is very cool. Going back to Karjakin versus Vidit, a5 was played by Vidit, a4 now by Sergey. I'm wondering if this is a possibility. Bishop c6, huh? But then bishop c8, bishop e8, here, bishop h5, bishop g4 and f3. Many ways for white to win, actually. It's only a matter of choice, actually, which way. You want to get your king here, kind of force the zugzwang and play f4, or do you want to get your bishop here and then win that way? Ronit Taranekar says, what is ChessBase 16? How is it different from having a ChessBase premium account? Ronit, ChessBase premium account is on the browser. While ChessBase 16 is a software which you can install and run on your computer. So you have much more abilities to prepare against an opponent, to save your databases. Basically, all the things that you need to do related to your databases, you can do in. It's basically a chess database management software, and a lot of top players have different opening files which they manage their endgame files. It's like their entire work when you start is in those files, ChessBase files. So no, ChessBase 16 is not for free. It is paid software, and it costs Its cost, actual cost all across the world is 100 euros, but because of ChessBase India and for the 10 countries whom we service in the Indian subcontinent for chess-based softwares, that is Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, Philippines, Thailand, Bhutan, uh, and a few more. The cost is 3,000 uh, 3,249 plus taxes. It comes to 3,715 basically. And oh, he goes queen c8 here, Esipenko. Esipenko is saying, Pragg, do you want to exchange the queens? Because once the queens are traded, it's slightly more difficult to break through. I mean, you can and you will eventually, but you see there are weaknesses in the position and you need, let's say if you keep the queen here, let's say queen b6, then you can put pressure, but then queen h8 you have to note. So you know, this way you have to be careful. Queen b5, queen h8, bishop a3, bishop a4. So Pragg has to remain on his toes. You know, he cannot just play lightly and allow counterplay. This happens a lot when you're winning. Feel like anything will win. So you go here and you attack this pawn and you think your opponent will defend. Then he goes queen h8. Then you are like, okay, let me take this pawn. Then he comes in here. Then he attacks the bishop and the rook. Suddenly you get worried and you come back and you try to defend. Then all of a sudden he takes another pawn, and before you know it, your opponent has great pieces. So you see, how did things change? Did it change and you will be like, I'm so unlucky, I was winning, completely winning. But the main point was that at this moment you did not see your opponent's resource, which was queen h8 to attack here. Mishra Ayushman says, Sagar bhai, I have watched a lot of your videos, but I'm still stuck on 1300 on chess.com. Please help, will do anything you say. Well, Mishra Ayushman, that's exactly why we have started India's Got Talent, in the first link in the description. If you can fill that form in carefully, then, you know, it could be nice. And if you get selected, you will get some suggestions from our end on how to improve. Okay, Arjun's game, after rook c8, he went king e6 back and rook c6 check. So Arjun did not play knight c5. I was a bit surprised that Arjun didn't go knight c5 here, because it seemed like the most natural way to enter. Shubhang Kulkarni, thank you so much for your super chat. Maybe Arjun accepts a draw, yeah, at this point. King d5, rook c8. He's tried hard and could be a good time to call it a day. 10 points out of 13. Good tournament. Has gained how many elo points already? 24.7. Maybe he loses 0.7 elo here in this game, or maybe 2 elo points. So 20, he remains at, maybe then he goes to India number 5, because then Nihal gets ahead of him. So it's a maybe important game to remain India number 4. If he draws, he goes back to India number 5. I think that's, I mean, it's not so critical, but just. It seems like they are agreeing to a draw, right? See, king d5, rook c8, king e6, rook c6, king d5, and yes, Mr. Bearview, Indian kid from Australia, can participate. Yeah. Shubhang Kulkarni says, how frustrating is it that even after having so many good Indian talents, no one is even close to become a champion? Well, I think we are all going a little bit too impatient about things. If you think about it, all of them are young, they are talented, they're improving step by step. Everyone's crossed 2600. They are moving towards 2650. They will reach 2700 soon. It's the new generation is building up, and it cannot happen overnight. Plus, not to forget that we had 2 years of pandemic, which really slowed things down. Oh, by the way, Pragg took knight takes and bishop b3. I am not a big fan of his decision, but I think it should get the job done. Apple Santu says, can you explain why Arjun did not play knight c5 there? He can still do it. Although the position has repeated twice here, if you see, they have repeated king d5, rook c8. So this is once, king d5, rook c8, king e6, king d5, rook c8 twice. So I think Arjun can play, and he might do it. I guess the reason could be that after check, king c4, he did not like rook g8, rook here. And now I'm wondering if there's some way because you can go e4 and bishop d2 to attack here, but knight e4 just saves everything. So I'm not sure. Maybe you go rook c8, king b3, a5, king a4, and then rook a8. And before you know it, maybe it's not so clear. Yeah, like maybe you come back and then ab6 is hanging on the second rook. So one second. B takes a5, rook a7, king b5, and yeah, maybe he sees this, that it's a point here that after rook g8, rook f5, he can go back and attack a7. But Arjun can take on a4. So, I mean, Arjun can play on this position. Rook c8 is a nice move, by the way. Here, this is the point. I think a5, king a4, and then rook here. So you can no longer take this, and then he should be able to draw. So let's see. I think knight c5 is the last try. But Arjun, if he accepts a draw, nothing wrong in that also. Pragg has gone bishop b3. Let's look at how Vidit's game is going on. After c7, a5, a4, still. D says your prediction about candidates this year. So until now we have Firouzja Caruana from Grand Swiss, Rajapov with the wild card, Nepo as the runner-up of the World Championship, Duda and Karjakin from the World Cup. These are the 6 players. I really think that Firouzja is someone who's like supremely motivated. Like I was there at the World Rapid and Blitz, and I could see him, like super concentrated. And I actually saw him after 2 years. I had seen him at the World Rapid and Blitz 2019. Of course, he's grown up, become much taller, but apart from all of that, he looked super focused, like completely. He would hardly talk with anyone, just in the zone, very focused in general. And I think the fact that he didn't play Tata Steel, he's not playing, he would be preparing well. So yeah, Firuza is definitely someone. About Rajabov, I'm like, if Raja gets into that really motivated frame of mind, he can be very, very dangerous opponent, especially because he's so solid. Uh, this Caruana, who's just tremendous, when he gets rolling. Like we saw it last year in Tata Steel, he was so good in some of the games. Duda is like an unknown quantity at candidates. It's the first time he's playing, but I think he'll be super motivated. Um, and then you, of course, have two more spots left. You don't know who they will be. Will it be Wesley So? Will it be like another amazing player to join in? Will Hikaru Nakamura make the cut? Will Anish Giri reach there? Will it be Ding Lijen? Will it be Levon Aronian? I think this could be one of the most exciting candidates in the history of chess because of Firuza, in there. I mean, if Vidit and Hari Krishna, if one of them qualifies, that is just a huge, huge bonus for Indians. Oh, by the way, Arjun goes knight g3 check. So he has continued here in this position. He's not agreeing to a draw. But now, let's say I take, you take. Now my threat is, of course, to go in. Let's say you go rook g8. What do you do? Rook g8 maybe? Because threat is rook f2. Maybe let's say you go king d3, e4, king c3. Very interesting move here. Could be rook f3. And remember always that two pawns on the sixth rank beat a rook. So let's say even if I don't go to e4 and if I come back and you go here, it's just lost f2 g2. What are your predictions of the candidates, guys? I would like to know that from whatever we have. By the way, knight g3. I guess he might go king d3. He might not take this because at g3, yeah, he goes king d3. He doesn't take it. a4 here in with its game. With it thinking hard, he has just 10 minutes left on the clock. Caruana or Ding, says Dharmendra Joshi. Ayush Agarwal says, how can you possibly say this would be the most exciting candidates ever? Well, I just said it because I think Firuza's participation as an 18-year-old or maybe now 19 is makes it exciting. Wesley Aronian says Pritish Narkar. Pramod Gupta says Firuza will win. Vignesh says AG. Lallu Bhandari says AG. Rajabo says Shaibi Benoj. Cricket Care says Fabi. You see, even in like few comments, it's like so many different names. Kappa says Ding Legend. I find it interesting when you say players like Ding Lijen or Anish because they have to like win first qualify, then they have to also win the. With it also, yeah, people still, of course, he has as much of a chance as Ding Lijen or Anish or anyone for that matter because, oh, he goes back to f6 now. Now is the question of how to win, but we had discussed this, right? The way to win is to get the king here and to play f4. This is the way to win. Or you can first just drop your bishop back. But he's pushed his pawn to c7. I'm a bit confused. Let's say I go here. You go here. I go here. You wait. f4, interesting move. If you play king e4, f6 wins, then I have 2 pawns. Gf, king h4. And I'll take this, then I'll win this. Yeah, he does king f2. He's doing that plan. Praggnanandhaa is gone king e7. What about Abdusattorov? Well, Abdusattorov, of course, very big talent, but he will have to wait until the next cycle. You know, he's not qualified in the Grand Prix right now. Van Foreest versus Sam Shankland. Wow. Look at this. Van Foreest made some massive progress there. Here, come back. E5 takes. Here, takes. B5. B4. Wow, this is getting exciting here. Rook G8. B3. Maybe Rook B8. King C5. Threatening Bishop B5. G5. And if Bishop B5 now G6, white pawn starts to run. So Bishop F5. Asim Khan asks, can Arjun crack 2750 this year? I have a feeling it's going to be very difficult. By the way, knight G3, king D3, E4, king C3 has been reached. How about knight F2, attacking here? Game getting sharp. Arjun going all in. Let's see. I think 2750 is very tough. Maybe 2700 is a realistic aim, but you know, like how for Firuza, if we had kept realistic aims, he would have reached 2800 maybe 3 years later, but he reached it so quickly. So I don't think that we can predict how these young talents will do, because it all depends on which events they play. Like in this tournament, Arjun just played phenomenally, and if he continues this way, it will be amazing, and he could reach there. But also he said that he doesn't want to play much this year. He played a lot last year. Maybe he just said it like that. Perhaps he will start playing a lot if he gets invitations. Maybe 2700 is what I would say could be the realistic aim, but let's see. H4, king F2, H4, king G2, king E5, and now king H3. Why not? Tushar Sawant says Arjun doesn't have some opportunities as Ali Reza, but Ali Reza reached 2750 and then he started getting such opportunities. It's usually you have to reach there, up there, to get those opportunities. And if Arjun reaches there, he will get those opportunities. I think the reason why Karjakin played king h2 is very interesting, because if he had gone king h3, then there is king d6 and there is no time for f6. Do you see that? It's a very important moment. King c7, king g5, h3, and all of a sudden things have gone wrong. h2, f4, bishop b7. Black is back in the game. So king h2 is a very smart waiting move, asking Vidit, what do you want to do? Once he goes back, now he will go king h3, because now there is no king d6 anymore. Thug army says, why not king d6 now? Because now if you play king d6, this pawn is not pinned. So I'll play f6. And if you go king here, what's the winning move? Can you find the winning move? Will it help Arjun if he plays European Club Cup? For sure, he has to start playing in these club events, because you know the club events, the best part is that you get to play a set number of rounds, and you also get paid per game usually in such events. It's just the most natural way for chess players to progress if you get selected to the clubs. Yes, bishop f5 is absolutely right. Apple Sandu Chess is Fun, Shaibi Binoj, Samad Goels, Minil Mahajan, Rakshak Kundarappu, Saupayan, Roy Chaudhary, Harshit, Deepesh, Vignesh. Well done. Bishop f5. Not bishop d5, because then he takes on f6. Bishop f5. If you take on f6, I win your bishop. If you take the bishop, I go f7, and I'm the one to queen first. So bishop d3 has been played here. Surprising actually for me. Why did he not go king h3 here? Is there a reason? King g4. I don't know why. This and then f4. It looks straightforward, but I think Sergey is just maybe waiting a bit. This king e5 now. Once again, you can't play king h3 because of king d6. So once again, you have to make a waiting move, bishop c2 or something. And with it has gone king e5. So you make a waiting move with bishop c2. Praggnanandhaa versus Esipenko game after bishop b3, king e7, rook a6, king d8, king f2, king c7. I think he's got his opportunity here. Maybe Pragg can to improve his bishop with bishop a4. Because with bishop a4, if you take on c4, there is rook c6 check. And if you go king here, then rook c5, discovered check. If you go king b7, then I can take on c8, rook c8, and bishop e8. Followed by bishop g6 and bishop f5. So that is a way. And if you don't do anything, I'll improve my bishop to b5. Or Pragg can be patient about everything and just go king e3, king d3. Like here, king e3, knight b6, king d3, king b7. He can go back to a1, and he can say that this position is fine. But then he goes knight d7 and knight e5. Yeah, I don't like if. Yeah, look, this like Praggnanandhaa has gone rook a1. It's a good idea. It's a good idea. Like knight b6, you go rook a7 here, and you get to enter. So he can't improve his knight just as yet. And if you go king b7, then you enter from the other side, like here. So you're not letting him move his knight so easily. Oh, by the way, look at what Sergey actually did was he went for another plan, which we didn't think of. He went here and he put his bishop on h3. Very smart. Very smart. Very cool. And now after bishop d7, bishop g4, bishop c8, he starts running his king over. He's going to get his king like this and win. Because the moment you move your king, there is f6. The moment you go king e5, there is f6. And so Vidit has to constantly keep making king moves. And Sergey brings his king. Nice. So we were just thinking of the king maneuver there. Sergey thought of the bishop maneuver as well, which is very cool. Like here, king f2, He first, once h4, actually h4 was the move that needed to be provoked. If you don't play h4 and if you keep moving your king, I think anyway the idea is f4, but could have been somehow another way to. But once h4 was played, he got king h2, bishop d3, and bishop f1. If you take bishop takes f5, I have bishop h3, and then my pawn queens. If you take king f5, I still have bishop h3. So you go king f6, I go bishop h3, and then I slowly bring my king over, and I'm winning. Yes, Shaibi, you can participate. Yes, PRT. We looked at Grandelius versus Duda the end, like Rook G5 check and all of that. That was very cool. By the way, look at this Arjun's game. Some things have transpired here. After knight f1, I was expecting him to give a check perhaps here, but he went rook g8, rook c7, king b3, and he's taken on e3. And now if you take here, then king d4. And Arjun is better here with his, even if he takes on h4, Arjun starts to go inside this position. It's a very nice Carlsenist grind perhaps, yeah, coming up. And white has to play very carefully here. And a move like bishop c3 to stop king d4. But I mean, think about it. Bishop c3. Yeah, how to stop now rook g5? That's the point. Like if you go knight d1, I still have rook g5 check. Yeah, so bishop c3 is an important move. But the way Arjun is putting pressure on his opponent, sooner or later, he might crumble because he's putting so many questions to him. What will you do here? I'm first of all coming on f1. I'm attacking your pawn. What do you want to do? It's like, okay, I go rook g8. Okay, I'm giving you a check. Now I'm taking. Now, so he's asked a lot of questions and Maurizzi could go wrong. Yeah, look, he's just got his king all the way here. Very smart. The king moved like this. This. And, king f7. Now f6. He can do this, right? I think he is in f6. But maybe not needed. f6 because of h3. And I have to take now bishop h3, or I have to take on c8, h2. He queens. I can play this. I'll be bishop up, which is winning because my queen is defended here. So you cannot win it with a check. It is defended. But why to go into that, right? Why to play f6? He goes king b6. Just playing calmly here. Rishabh Mishra right now, the game we are seeing is Vidit's game and he is losing right now. Arjun's opponent, what did he do? Oh, Arjun's opponent took on g5, which, as we said, yeah, if you ask a lot of questions, if you pose him with a lot of questions, he will go wrong. King d4. King has entered. Bishop c3 was a better move here. White had to stop king d4. So now Arjun has real chances of winning this. No, I mean, the way he's converted this is epic, yeah? Like, I mean, even to put pressure. Great. Okay. Let's say you go bishop takes h4, right? I give a check. King b4 is horrible because of knight c2 mate. So you go back king b2. Thinking of what way to continue, like maybe king c4. Vidit has resigned his game here against Sergey, which was expected because his white king was coming in, and king e8. He resigned here because he will win. So a very interesting win for Karjakin, playing a kind of equalish line. I think this was the key mistake in the entire game. This was the moment where the position had equal material. Karjakin went and attacked this pawn, and we were expecting with it to play rook c6, defending it with bishop a4, and then rook b6, rook c5, and eventually rook b4. This is what would have most likely ended in a draw, but king d8 was very bad move here. I think after this Vidit was just catching up, and Karjakin showed why he's a great world-class player. And I think the real nice decision was rook f5 here. Very good decision. I mean, he just believed that he will win this position. Yeah, very instructive endgame by Karjakin Rakshit. Absolutely. Meanwhile, Praggnanandhaa has managed to get his king up. At least for the time being, till the king is not on b7, knight cannot move because rook a7 check. The moment he goes here, then you have to be careful about this plan. That's the only plan which blocks the e file. Because then what happens is, let's imagine if you go king here, I go king f4, you go knight b6, and if now you don't have rook e1, and let's say you just waste time with rook a2, just as an example, and I go knight d7 and knight e5, then all of a sudden you have no entry points. E file is blocked, a file is blocked, c4 is under pressure. So you don't want to reach such a position. I mean, you have to make many bad moves to allow that. So Pragg is definitely winning, but has to work hard now, work hard for the victory. Going back to Arjun's game here, after rook g5, king d4, his opponent didn't take on h4, he played a5. Man, this now Arjun seems to be totally winning after. There are a couple of ways. One is b takes a5, and the reason is that after bishop a5, he goes rook c1. Let's say you go bishop d2, I go rook b1, king a2, maybe rook g1 or rook f1, rook d1, wherever, and take. This rook endgame is winning for black. So a5, you can take the pawn. You can also play a move like king d3, and then after take, say rook g6, knight f5, take on b6, e3, with the idea of knight d4 could also be a way to push. So the e pawn is the key here. Although this position is winning, but there is still some effort here. How to coordinate the knight in the best way. I think you need to get your knight like this to d4. King has to go to d3. That's how, like king d3, knight c2, knight d4. That's how you want to play, and then push your e pawn down the board. Yeah, Arjun has played this game like Magnus for sure. I mean, he's really played well. But let's see if he can convert it with Magnus's precision. This is where Magnus really is a beast. Okay, king e3, bishop e6 has been played here. Esipenko might be smelling a chance, no, here. He might be feeling that this is my a5. Dipesh Sokhal says, Saiva, should I play one game of 30 plus 30 or should I play many blitz for improving at chess? Well, maybe a good idea is to first check out some good series like Imbalance Theory or, Improve Your Chess with Sagar, and then use those techniques in your game, and then 30 plus 30 would be helpful because then you really need time to think. Arjun has 29 minutes. He has 6 more moves to make here. If Arjun wins this, that will be a big result, and he is winning this, and his opponent is 25-02. So then I think that's like, you are strike the iron when it is hot kind of a thing, or make the hay while sun shines. He's in good form. Why not continue playing? He might get another 3 low points. He will reach 26-60. Pragg is winning Shantamja, but the king f4, the question is how to convert it. From which side do you enter? Because when you go rook e1, he goes back bishop f7, and his bishop controls the light square, the knight controls the dark square. When he thinks of entering from this side, the knight controls a7. So how do you win? And I think that it goes back to this point. Yeah, you go rook a6, bishop a4, and then you play rook c6. Guys, please excuse me. I would like to have my dinner as well here, if you don't mind. The stream started at 6:30 when it was a little too soon to finish my dinner. So Pratik Bhatt says rook e1. Let's say Pratik, I go king b7 maybe. Then here bishop f7, and you want to go bishop a4. Makes sense, because if you take here, you want to enter with rook. And then bishop b5 is the plan. Yeah, I like your plan. But again, let's say king c7, bishop b5, king d8, stopping bishop e8. Or maybe do you want to play bishop e8 directly here? This should be winning. No, come on, this should be totally winning. I mean, oh, unless I trap my rook here or something, but I don't think so. Just rook f8 as well. Yeah, this should win. This should win. I can then slowly get my king like this. Let's go back to Arjun's game. He takes on a5, which is fine, which is a nice move. Yeah, I can change the game here to Praggnanandhaa's game. So he's taken b takes a5. And now Maurizzi is thinking what to do. I guess he'll take. And then Arjun will move in. I mean, it's such a complex endgame with just 3 pawns. And somehow this e-pawn is super strong. I want to play b6, but then there is rook b1 check. Or is that king a2? Can I do this? AB, bishop b6, king d3, and even this rook endgame. This position just clarified why black is winning. It's because the king is cut off and the e-pawn is just strong. Like rook g4, I go king d3. You take on h4, I go e3. You go down, I go e2, and I win. So, you know, for Arjun, even the queen side pawns do not matter. It's this pawn which makes all the difference. King d3, move the knight, push. And this is a very good representative variation for that. That this is winning for black. You know, one of the things that you see and you learn is how 2700 plus players defend. Like here, Pragg has gone rook a8. Of course, Pragg is winning. But look at the defense that Esipenko is putting up. So good. So good. Pragg has managed to get in at rook a8. I'm thinking what's his next plan. King can't enter. King comes to c7. Maybe his next plan is to somehow reach 60 moves. Get some more time. Gaurav Singh Vidit lost. Yeah, Manthan Singh Bari, Arjun does understand that the e-pawn is key here. That's why he took on a5. But Still, there are so many tactical possibilities. G3. Okay. First point and the first question that comes to mind is, why not just, I mean, I understand you want to take here and you want to take with the rook or with the bishop and then activate yourself, but why not just here? What's your plan? So a couple of things. One, if rook d2, bishop d2, we already know that after rook d1, and bishop c3 check. But if he takes here and here, we already know this is better for black with the e-pawn. So maybe start off with a4, push the king away, and now play rook d1. So no bishop c3 check, business. Take, g takes h4, king f4, e3, e2, e1. So let's say rook goes back, e3, rook here, rook d4 check, king a5, and rook e4 wins. So g3, I'm a bit surprised with rook here. Let's say he wants to go bishop f2. Even that doesn't matter. I just go rook here. Rook f1. It seems totally winning. Here even a4, king a4, and king c3 is a nice move. As if bishop e3, there is rook a1 mate. And there's, if you give a check here, then I can block. That's why king c3 and not king c4. King c4. But bad luck for black is that even he loses this endgame. Bishop c1, hg3, bishop e3, king d3, bishop g1, e3. So g3, nice variation. Sheikh Basit says, I think it's a fortress. No, I think it's not. He will have to play bishop a4 at some point. He will win that. Abhay, right now Arjun is gaining 24.7. If he wins this, he will gain maybe like 28 kilo points in all. He will reach 2660. I'm expecting Arjun to play rook c1 here. Let's go back to the game. Here, rook a1. The thing I've noticed in chess is that very few people can continue a unbelievable form for multiple events at a stretch. Like, let's say, for example, what Firuzha has done and reached 2800. It's very unique. And so when there are very few people. They all have moved up step by step on the ladder. Like you are 2600 one year, then you reach 2670, then you reach 2720, then you reach 2750, then you reach 2770, like that. But very few are able to make that like huge leaps. And this is where I think it like we might say that okay, Arjun is like in the best form of his life right now, but he has to maintain this form for the next few events that he plays, because 2660, like even in Nihal's case, he reached 2660 early last year, yeah, like around after that Serbian trip. He reached 2660, and then he was not able to break. I mean, he didn't play much because of the pandemic. He did play a few events like Grand Swiss and all, but that's where you have to continue. Look, this is a plan, I would say. This is something which Pragg has to think about. Bishop a4 now. And if bishop c4, rook c6, I think he might have to go for such tactical ideas. Avinash Nagana says Vidit always starts great in tournaments, but at the end he fails to finish in top 3. What may be the reason? I think, firstly, what Vidit achieved in the first few rounds here was already something I think he hasn't done before. It was like for the first time that he was leading a tournament after, let's say, what, 5 rounds, 6 rounds. Then Magnus started to come ahead and took over the lead. But it could be quite possible that once things don't go with its way, he does get a little bit that mental strength might be missing. But even in this event, after he lost a game against I think it was, no, not with Pragg. Before that, I think he lost a game. I think it was against forget. And then he beat Grandelius. Whom did he? So I think that could be that he showed that this comeback. Yeah, Van Foreest, Jorden van Foreest. And then he won the next game against Nils. So that was already a very good thing. Then he lost to Praggnanandhaa and he again drew with Magnus. So, he didn't let things slip out completely. But then yesterday he lost to Mamedyarov, and I think today's loss was where I think it was an equalish position and he blundered. So yes, could be. It's very easy to say that okay, he has to work with maybe how to fight back after losses, but how do you do that? That's one other question. You need to work with mental trainers, and players of Vidit's caliber are already doing that. It's a very subtle improvement, like that you have to make these little things. Also, sometimes it's just like when there is a company which is doing really well in some fields, and they need to improve their efficiency in that field when they are really at the top of their production level or something. Every incremental improvement is difficult, and it's the same for these 2700, 2730, 27 world top 20 players. It's not easy, and I think for Vidit it's a very important thing that he has to figure out what he has to improve at, and he will, working with his trainers and all. Let's see if he is able to come up with that and play well at the FIDE Grand Prix, because that's, I feel it's the best opportunity for him in his career till date, the FIDE Grand Prix. So if you think about it, it's one step away from qualifying to the candidates. I mean, no matter how tough it is the best opportunity, I feel, for him. Meanwhile, I mean, we can all become experts, but clearly I'm not qualified to figure out exactly what is going wrong. And I think we all have to sort of wait and see what happens. Meanwhile, Arjun took on g3. Small surprise. I thought he would go in, Rook g3, knight d5, making way for the e pawn to promote. Bishop a5, and now rook c5. Again, taking, threatening to take here. King a4. But e3, guys, e3. Arjun's pawn is going ahead. Boom, boom, boom. This is over. Prajwal Mina Ziggy. I don't know if anyone will. Oh, e3 is pushed it. Very, very stable play by Arjun. Yeah, very nice. Step by step increasing his advantage. Okay, maybe what do you do? Bishop d8? Like go here, maybe. e2, rook g1. Idea is this. King d3. Bishop here. But bishop here, rook c4 check, and you lose the bishop. King e5. Knight c7, attacking here. Shashank says, in the end, would you say Vidit had a good tournament or not? I mean, if we look at the ratings, I think he lost rating, yeah, in this event. Because he was having like, he went back, he lost like 3 low points in this tournament. So he's become like world number 24. So from that perspective, surely it was not ideal that he lost points. And if you look at, like, if you have to take out the positives and negatives, there were positives for sure. The Dubov game, the Shankland game, the Grandelius game, nice games there, draw with Magnus, all these like good achievements, but there were down points as well. I think overall maybe it's an event that will leave a slightly bad taste in the mouth because he was doing so well at the start. The trick is to forget it and get ready for the next event. That is the tough part, guys, for everyone, you know, not just for sports players, but for everyone who's trying to achieve something. You are bound to fail at some point, and it's how you take those hits and keep moving forward. That is the key part here. King d3 now, or e2, both look strong. Rook here, he wants to take this. Let's say I push here and you take this. Now black to play and win. Can you find it? Very nice win, guys. Come on, can you find the win? Hassan Imam says knight c3 check, but Hassan, the problem is that I'll take. You take with the rook. Should win as well, right? Knight c3 should also win, I believe. Ooh. The main point is that rook e7, you have rook e3, but I'll start with a check. Checks. The Zwischenschach, Zwischenschach, in between check. Intermediate check, very irritating. King e4, rook here. Draw. So the move here, by the way, very cool move. Let's see if anyone found it. Raj Odedara, well done, Raj. Jagdish Ramakrishnan, very well done. Mayur, very well done. The move is rook c3, classy move. The point is, if you take now, then I take with a check and I make a queen. You can't play rook e7 because knight controls it. It's a beautiful way to finish off the game. So rook g7. Let's see if Arjun does this. The main thing about Arjun is that he calculates very well. I think he might play this. He can also go king d3, which is a nice move. But I mean, king d3, is it concrete? Like after take e2. Okay, your threat now is maybe knight c3 or rook c3. Oh, he went e2. No, he went what? He went knight b6 check, king b4 has been played. Maybe he has to repeat, yeah. It's the only move, kind of. c4, king b3. Also, let's go back and check what Praggnanandhaa is up to. Has he managed to find a way to break in? Doesn't seem so. 55 moves. You know, the thing is, Praggnanandhaa should not get kind of desperate and do something really stupid here. That is very important. He has to take, but I mean, hats off to Esipenko for a superb defense. Tremendous. Now, Pragg has 4 minutes, but after 5 moves, he'll get another 15 minutes. PRT says imbalanced endgames are tricky. Max Warmerdam versus Daniel game today had Rook versus Knight and was equal for most part, and Max blundered. Ooh. You can have a look at that for sure. Let's try to see on move 44 what happened. Daniel Darda versus Max Warmerdam says it was around equal here. Yeah, looks good. Knight c6, king e4, and b4. Oof, massive blunder. But you don't even understand, yeah, why this is a blunder. Maybe the right move was king b4 or knight a5. You go b4 and then rook h1, knight a5, d4. Okay, what happens if I go b5? What was the problem? Check. Attacking here. Let's say I go king b4, d4. So what was the point? Like d4, king here, check, king here, and he won because now b4 is hanging and otherwise d3, d2. So why would he draw in this position if he went, let's say king b4? Why wouldn't this like, then you go knight a5. The main point was to get the knight here. So if d3, knight here, and now you can't get d2 easily. But even if you did, then in the meantime, I would have pushed my pawn. Like let's say king d5, c6, king takes, and maybe knight e5 check and win this pawn. True. Very nice position you found, PRT. Nice job. Ashwath Raja says we were talking along the same lines in previous Vaikanze for Anish, and his interview after the tournament made so much sense to the mentality of players after painful loss. True. Anish, I remember, had said a very important. By the way, Arjun did figure out that after king b4 he has to repeat the position and now figure out what to do. I think e2 maybe is what he should do it. But e2, check on g4, king d3, check here. I don't know if knight e3 works. Maybe it does. Maybe. It's not so trivial, e2. And Anish had mentioned that what I believe is that if I have something to look forward to, I can forget my bad performance. If there's another tournament which is coming up and I don't have this, I think for him it's a continuing story. Also, I liked very much where he wrote online. He has this picture with Magnus where he says, "Couldn't catch up with you." I can show you. Maybe it's a nice story which you can. While Arjun thinks for his move. Arjun did play E2. Nice, nice. Yes, so so yeah, I just want to show you this. So this is what Anish put up on his social media, and he wrote, "Couldn't keep up this time." You know, he said, "Yeah, couldn't keep up this time with Magnus," and he put this picture. And what his father, Sanjay Giri, he wrote was that the journey is more important and interesting than the destination. Life is all about doing and not just the outcome. Keep on moving and doing. That's what he said. And I thought it was very nice, uh, nicely put by Anish's father there. Okay, back to the game. E2. This would be nice if rook c3 comes in, like if he takes here, rook c3 is a very nice finish. And but rook g4 is the irritating move. This is where a top player would give this check and make it very difficult to win, like, because check, king d3, natural check, and then if you go knight e3, then maybe bishop e1, and I just kind of make it not so easy for you to win. Bishop f2, and if you queen, I take, and then this rook versus knight, and e7 pawn is not so strong. So let's see. Meanwhile, Pragg finally making some progress, telling Esipenko that I am ready to give you a pawn if you let me enter this and take here. But even this, 97, rook a7. Yeah, this is the point here. I think he will take and take this and win this bishop endgame, which is completely winning. But bishop a4, Esipenko might not even be tempted to take this pawn. That's where the defensive thing comes in, right? And then the question is, how is Pragg planning to break through? Knight c8 back. Yeah, he improved his bishop from b3 to b5. That's an improvement for sure. But how do you progress? And one of the things which I want to impress upon and say is a very important point is these two pawns. They control dark squares in the position, while the bishop controls the light squares. So it's very difficult for the king to move in. This is teamwork. I'll control dark squares, bishop by two light squares dekh le. And oh, did Maurizzi play rook a7? Oh, he played rook a7 and Arjun Erigaisi finds rook c3 within what? How much time did he take? 6 seconds plus 30. 36 seconds he took just 36 seconds. What a move. What a nice finish. What a nice finish, yeah, by Arjun. And this is where as I told you, right, like when we talk about defense, 2500 rated players do not find such resources and they collapse, while 2700 rated opponents will go here and give checks and you see game over. Rook a7, rook c3, right? No, what happened there? Rook c, some error in the moves, but I think he played rook a7 and then rook c3 was played here, and I think he resigned here. So that is where the difference is. But Arjun Erigaisi has played unbelievable event. Arjun played, I think, rook c3. Did he play rook c7? Really, did this happen? No, I don't think he can play rook c7 because this is just horrible move. Yeah, it's just some broadcast error. King b3 and resign. No, this is not. He played rook c3. Yeah, he played rook c3 and he won. So Arjun, by the way, has finished the tournament with 10.5 out of 13, right? And he was on 9.5. He's finished with 10.5. 10.5 is 9 wins, no, 8 wins and 5 draws in the tournament. And he's gained 28 ELO points, which is pretty impressive. 2632 to 2660. And he's moved to India number 4 now. He has moved to I think in the world rankings, by the way, 2700chess.com, beautiful website. And I've interviewed the founder of it, and I think he helps us do all these analysis so well. He's moved to 2659.9, that is 2660. He's moved to world number 80, pumped up 54 spots in this tournament. What a performance. And he's also number 4 in juniors, behind Firuza, Esipenko, Kemar, and then it's Arjun. Well, I'll ask Arjun for an interview, but maybe here he has to finish his closing ceremony. Yeah, so he'll do it later in the day, maybe tomorrow. Knight e7, bishop b5, knight c8. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is the defense. If here you take on c4, Pragg has found a great way. Bishop e8, knight e7. He's going to give a check. He has planned this entirely. So what a top player does, like Esipenko, he sees this variation and then he says, I understand, Pragg, what you want to do. You're giving me a pawn. I won't take it. He plays knight e7. Then Pragg goes bishop b5, he goes knight c8. And then you get kind of irritated, like, how do I break through? Why not king d3 and bishop to d5 is a question. That is a decent question. The only problem is when you go, let's say for example, if you want to implement that plan, let's say you can start, I play knight e7, okay, you play king back, maybe I go knight c8, go king d3, I go king d8, you go bishop d1. Now I play knight b6, and the problem is that if you go bishop f3, I am in time to take on c4. So although your plan looks great, if it can be executed, it is falling short some in by one move in general. So not easy. Yeah, Certified Genius says this game by Arjun was damn good, completely juking the opponent from an equalish position to a high pressure endgame. Well, this is how Magnus does. Yeah, Magnus made a living out of this. If you see Magnus's games, like if you at this point, I thought Arjun had a chance to repeat and accept a draw. They repeated twice. But then he went g3 check, e4, knight f1. It's still equal. Rook g8, good move. Rook c7, king b3, knight e3. And now he had to find bishop c3. But he couldn't. He took. Once his king moved in, his e-pawn became a monster. And yeah, this entire thing with the e-pawn was so powerful. Rook a7 and rook c3. Great game, great game. Very nice. What about rook e1 and bishop e8? Yes, if it's possible, great. But how? Let's say, for example, I go knight e7, you go bishop b5. I go knight c8, you go rook e1. And now I go, very important move. What is it? You have to also become a good defender. What do you do? Muddy Magician says bd1 and bishop h5. That looks a bit desperate, doesn't it? Good night, Mayur. Come on, defend. Sometimes you don't need to find special move. Yes, belligerent. Prathamesh, Hayes, Abhishek Khatiwada, Shaibi Binoj, Irawan Nandi. Just go back. Stop bishop e8. And then again I force you to find the win. No, Sminil, that was a transmission error. Arjun played rook c3, I believe. By the way, knight b6, bishop b5. And now, of course, Esipenko doesn't even think about snatching this pawn because of rook a7. Goes back knight c8. He will just go back. It's a given. See, knight c8. I think I was king e3. Maybe Pragg has come up with this new plan now to go here, 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 here. This could be his plan. Let's think about it. Let's say you go king d8, I go king d3, you go king c7, I go king c2, You go king d8, I go king b3. So what has happened now is that you can't go knight b6 because then I go rook a7, correct? So you go king c7. If I go here, threatening to come in, am I getting into trouble? King b6, then I have maybe rook e1 now with the idea of move. I think it's working. If you go knight a7, I'll go king a5. Knight c6 check. I guess I can take. I don't know. Maybe take. Is this weird? Rook e1, bishop c4, rook e7. I should win this. Rook g7 next. King d5. Once it becomes a race. f4, gf, bishop d3. Yeah, well, it is winning, but not simple. Okay, king e3, bishop e6. Oh, what? He played bishop e6. Oh, Esipenko blundered. Bishop e8. Oh. I think Esipenko got tired, yeah. Defense is also saying how they defend really well and stuff like that, but I know that Pragg would have won, but now it's clear. Bishop e8. This is hanging and knight e7 and then just check and sack and then take this. It works, right? Oh, Shankland lost to Jorden? Oh, unbelievable. Because I thought he had chances of draw after he had pushed his pawn to b4. Like here, we saw that pawn went to b4, rook here. Oh, rook a5. The next move instantly blundered. We were saying that b3 has to be played with king c5 and the idea of bishop b5. He blundered rook a5. Then g5, maybe rook b8, stronger. G5, b3, rook b g6. Take, G here, queen, 2 pawns up. Check here is met with bishop g2. Queen d3, check. He won. Pragg is the final player. Oh, Pragg won. Bishop e8, opponent resigned. Oh, he resigned. He didn't even try playing on after knight e7. Amazing. Praggnanandhaa has beaten Andrey Esipenko. What a big result, you know. Andrey Esipenko is one of the best juniors. I mean, world number 2 in juniors. King f5, bishop h5, both are hanging hands. And Pragg has managed to beat him in this tournament. That ends Pragg's tournament beautifully, actually. And Arjun also won today. Surya drew. Vidit lost. That was a small. A draw would have been a nice end to his tournament, but it is what it is. And I'll just bring up the standings for you guys so that you know how the tournament has ended. We actually covered this entire tournament very well, all 13 days live commentary, and all of you did turn up. We had great games. We enjoyed it tremendously. I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed the coverage of this tournament. Magnus Carlsen won in the Masters. Arjun won in the Challengers. But a great event, yeah. Like, I mean, also hats off to the organizers for putting this together, because in this period it was becoming difficult for, you know, to organize events. There was so much problems around it. They managed to do it. अर्जुन का इंटरव्यू प्लीज जल्दी अपलोड कीजिए. फॉर श्योर आई विल. Hayes says, thank you for your efforts, Sagar bhai. Good night, friends. Thank you, Hayes. Just putting up the standings. Sachin K. Johnson is become the backer of Indian chess. Thank you. Ashwath Raja says, thank you so much for the coverage, Sagar bhai. Hope you get some good rest before the Grand Prix. Yes. Srinivas Ramani, Sagar, blunders happen, but what is frustrating about Vidit's performance is that just like in recent Blitz Rapid tournaments, he started off well and faded in the end. True. I mean, he will have to figure out what to do, and I believe as a top player, he will think about it. By the way, here's the Masters and Challengers section, and let's first go to the Masters, and this is it. Magnus Carlsen. Oops, no, I put the sorry, the wrong day, last day. Sorry, let me fix it. Masters. Yeah, there you go. That's the standings. Magnus Carlsen wins with 1.5 points. PRT says, thanks for covering classical events. Thank you. I mean, Magnus winning has become such a regular thing that we don't even feel that it's something unusual. But when you think about it, it's the 8th time he won the Tata Steel, and he's just 31. You realize what a genius he is, and then you see these pictures like this. I mean, I don't think they put it after he won. I think it's just something they had done before the event. You feel like, okay, Magnus, you still see that glint in his eyes when he wins, that happiness, and it still means a lot to him. I think Shakhriyar Mamedyarov had a brilliant event. That's what Mamedyarov actually became world number 5. He gained 9 elo points. So Mamedyarov had a great tournament. Richard Rapport also pretty good. Yeah, 8 points. He gained 6 elo points. He's become top 10 in the world. He's in top 10. Anish Giri kind of lost 1 elo point, so maintained his rating there. Sergey Karjakin with this win managed to do well. He's gained 4 elo points. Esipenko had a great event, by the way. Apart from this loss in the last round, Esipenko gained 4 elo points. Otherwise, he was gaining 10. Caruana, bad event. I think he lost 10 elo points, but he's still world number 4. Duda, 6 out of 13, lost 10 elo points. Vidit, 6 out of 13, lost 3 elo points. Shankland, 5.5 out of 13, he lost 4 elo points. Praggnanandhaa, you see, even with this 2700 rating, they are losing elo points, which shows Magnus gaining 3 elo points is a big achievement, with 2865. It's just tremendous. Praggnanandhaa actually gained elo points. He gained 7 elo points. So he's reached now 2619. It's very good for him. Nils lost, I guess, some elo points, and Dubov, well, he couldn't play 4 rounds, so we can't talk much about his performance. Going to the challengers here, Arjun won the tournament by a full 2-point margin. Arjun Erigaisi, 10.5 out of 13. Nguyen Thaidaiwan finished second with 8.5. Bier Jonas with 8.5. Jumabayev with 7.5. Erwin Lammy 7.5. Surya finished 6th. I think Surya with 6 points, he finished 9th place. Uh, Maybe Surya would have expected to do better. He started off really well. I think he was unbeaten till a point. Then he lost steam. And yeah, good performance by Murzin as well. But in the end, yeah, I think Arjun was clearly amazing in this event. In 8 wins is amazing. Ron Craig, thank you so much for your message. And guys, um, yeah, I'll see you all in a few days from now for the next live stream for FIDE Grand Prix, where Vidit and Hari Krishna will play. Before that, I plan to do um, some live streams, endgame deep dive. I will speak with Biswa, Vaibhav, Samay. Also, plan to do classics, learn from the classics. We haven't done that for quite some time. And yeah, we'll keep on working so that you guys can improve at chess, enjoy chess. And thank you all for following. What is the format of Grand Prix, Manasvi? Manasvi, it is 16 players divided into groups of 4, and they will play double round robin, so 6 games there, and the top finishers of each group will play in the semi-finals, then the finals, like World Cup, knockout games. And that is how Grand Prix is, and there are points for you reaching each level. And you have to play 2 such events, and the one who scores most cumulative points is the champion. Deepak Kannan, thank you for your. How is Amruta feeling now? Better, but not 100% the best. Shaibi Binoj, okay. Uh, Attach a PGN file, and I think I should be able to see. Shivam Adhikari says interview soon. Yes, I should interview Pragg, Arjun, at least these two. Not sure about Vidit. I would ask him, but he has also to travel to Berlin and has an important event coming up. We'll see how that goes. And why Anirban is not there in Endgame Deep Dive, Rakshit? Well, I think Anirban has, of course, his daughter to take care of, and he is generally quite busy. He does make exceptions for Grandmaster chess sessions, as he said, but I'll try to get him as well. Vpal says, excellent coverage. Thank you, Vpal. I have ordered a chess set after saving for 2 months. Big fan, Carrie says. Wow, that's so nice. So nice. I hope you really like the chess set. And it's the third link in the description or the fourth link. Yeah. So if anyone wants to get a chess set for themselves, can do so. Does the winner and the runner-up both qualify for the Grand Prix candidates? Asim Khan, basically, you have to have cumulative score, which is the highest from 2 events that you play. So let's say even if you don't win both the Grand Prix or even one of them, but you reach semi-finals of both, and there are players who have won the Grand Prix. So there's this point scoring system that they have. I can just try to put it up. I think we have an article on ChessBase India on it, that Vidit and Hari Krishna want to, they'll play, aim for qualification with the candidates. But I'll just show you what the point system is. Yeah. So these are the point system. So let me just put it here. Yeah, just a second, give me a second, just trying to fix it. So here, yeah, this is the one. So if you win a Grand Prix, you get 13 points. If you finish as the runner-up, you get 10 points. If you are the semi-final loser, which means you finished top of your pool, but you lost in the semi-final, you get 7. So imagine that someone wins a Grand Prix, but then finishes 4th in pool. Oh, very unlikely. then he gets 13. While if someone finishes at top of his group but loses in semifinals, he gets 14 points to 7-2 into 2. So that is how you have to cumulatively finish ahead in the two events that is there. And these are the 3 Grand Prix events, by the way, for all those who are wondering when it will be. So the first leg is in Berlin, Germany, 3rd to 17th. Second leg is February 28 to March 14 in Belgrade. Both Hari Krishna and Vidit play in these two. And the third leg is March 21 to 4th April. That is in Berlin, Germany once again. And for those who were asking about what is going to be the pool in the first event, actually the pool for the second event has not been published yet, I believe. So the pool for the first event looks something like this. So now you have all the information in one page about Grand Prix. Grishchuk, Nakamura, Andrekin and Bakro in one group. Ting Lejeune, Richard Rapport, Fedosiev and Oparin in another group. Aronian, Vidit, Dubov and Vincent Kim are in one group. Wesley So, Dominguez, Hari Krishna and Shirov. So we'll look at it from, I think 3rd is the inauguration. Maybe it starts from 4th. I'll try to cover it. I think this went an amazing tournament for Pragg, even though he lost, but the games were offbeat and amazing in their complexity. Polaris time. Yes. And also remember that Pragg has hardly ever, or I think this is the first time ever, he stayed alone in a room. Because he usually travels with his mother or sister. And this time he traveled with his coach, who got Ramesh, who was tested positive. It's the first time he was quarantined. I mean, Ramesh was quarantined in another room. So the first time Pragg had to sleep at night alone. And for a kid who's 16 years old and has never done that before, it's not easy. Big fan carry, I don't know if I'll be able to sign it because it goes from our office, and so I won't be able to. But I hope you enjoy the chess set. Piyush Galfat says, will you go there? Where to get the tickets? I'm not sure. Maybe from World Chess website. Whether they will allow or not right now because of the pandemic situation is a question. Prathamesh S says, how to start teaching chess to 6-year-old. Well, maybe just learn chess for yourself and then teach your kid. Chess Course is a good book, and I think I've done a video on it, and it's a good book to start off your chess journey. I've done an unboxing video which is there. If you type Chess Course, ChessBase India, there is a 50% off going on right now for that, so you can check it out. By the way, a nice picture of Arjun yesterday, which we published. It's very nice. Leonard. Aryan Pandey says, how's your health, Sagar bhai? My health is much better than before. And I hope to see you soon, guys. Take care. And bye-bye. Piyush Galfat says, because I just moved to Germany and would it like to meet players? I think you should try. Piyush, just check out World Chess website and you might get a contact there. Write to them and it would be very nice if you can meet the players. This tournament will be start of Arjun's career, says Hacking Network. Yeah. Hopefully. Take care, guys, and see you all for the next tournament. Until then, bye-bye.